You are listening to the Mountainside Podcast, and joining us back in studio once again is renowned photographer and all-around badass Michael Pintar is back on the Mountainside. I always enjoy sitting down with Mike. This was a great episode, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation. We're doing this, dude. It's not very often I get to have you in here, so thanks for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me again.
Yeah. Fire up the sign here so we're legitimate, right?
Oh, boy.
Oh, shit. Now we're on it. Now we're on the air.
Now we're on the air. This is the shit's for real now.
Dude, welcome back, man.
Thank you.
Like I said, we don't get to do this very often. So this is super cool. You're busy. I've been busy.
Yeah.
Life's just nutty right now.
It is. It's the craziest. I want to say not only year, but for me, it's been about 2 years. And yeah, and by that I mean I just you know how I'm not a resolutionist. I don't start out to begin.
Let's not even go down the politics road because I'll go off.
No. I mean like resolution. Like I'm going to go out and lose weight. You know, fads, diets, and all that.
You look great, man.
Oh well, thank you. I did this T-shirt's from when I was in 5th grade. So anyway, shout out to Josh Harvey and Outlaw Equine down there in Decatur, Texas. But I'm not a resolutionist. So in other words, if you're thinking about 2025, now is the time to be already doing that. So don't just get on that January bandwagon. Why do you think gyms make so much money, especially 100%. In these colder states? Right? Everybody goes, I'm going to work out, and then they dissolve within a month and a half.
Nobody's in there.
No.
Nobody's in there at 6 a.m.
But the residual income's flowing. But the point is it's been a crazy last couple years, and the only person to point the finger at is myself. I've just got to try to get after it and not say I'm going to do it. It's a classic saying.
Dude, you are doing it though. I think it's just because I struggle with the same thing, especially with the podcast. Like I just want this exponential growth, and I'm 5 going on 6 years now. I think with it. And it just seems to not come fast enough, right? But when I really go back and look at the progress that I've made, I'm like, fuck, I guess I've done a lot. I've had a ton of awesome people in. I've had a ton of awesome people like yourself say yes. And we just keep growing. And now we're doing this whole new video element. So it's like, I see it, man. I see your growth.
Well, thank you. It's definitely... at some point it just sort of clicks, right? It just sort of makes sense. But I want to ask you, why do you think we feel this pressure? Is it because of to quote a few people, like your Dale Brisby's or your Joe Rogan's? My gosh, I mean, is it a comparison thing? What do you think it is? Because if you get caught up in that,
is the thief of joy. I can't remember who said that quote, but
right?
But that is such a true statement, man. Like you cannot compare yourself to these other podcasts. I can't.
Right.
I can't do it. And that's one thing that I had to figure out. And luckily I figured it out like early on. I think I was maybe like 30 or 40 episodes in. And I started getting sponsorship. And then I started getting force-fed like guests. And not all of them I wanted to talk to. Or some of them I was nervous to talk to. Some of them turned out really, really well, but at the end of it all, it was not good because I was just comparing myself to like these other podcasters to the point where it kind of ruined listening to podcasts for me because now I sit there and kind of critique it, or I would ask them this question or whatever, right? So now when I take something in, it's totally like outside of the genre, outside of the wheelhouse, and then also I've shared a lot of some of the same guests with Rogan, a lot of the same guests with other podcasts. And I feel like if I go and listen to that, somehow it just, you regurgitate what you hear.
Right.
A lot, right?
Yeah.
So like it comes up in conversation, just natural conversation sometimes. So then you end up having almost the same conversation.
Yeah.
So if I'm having somebody on for the first time and want to hear their story, I go into it totally blind now.
I think that's great. It's kind of like what I told you. I go, come on, Bobby, what the heck are we going to talk about now? And not to speak on your behalf, but for those of you who are just here to start this conversation, we probably could have already had a podcast with everything we were talking about before we even went live.
Our phone calls could be podcasts.
I know,
honestly,
they really could be.
And that's the thing is like these are my favorite when there's like no. I have no agenda. I didn't think about like,
No.
shit, what am I going to talk to Mike about? I
Right.
just know you're good on the mic
Oh boy.
and we can talk about anything and everything.
Yeah.
And these are the ones that I really like because it's as much as I want to plug you and your photography and stuff, we might not even get into that. We're just going to talk some shit, you know?
Now we've talked about that stuff, but and it's like I told you before we mic'd up here that what rabbit holes do we not want to go down? Right. There's some hot buttons right now, hot topics.
Oh,
I can give you just a hint. It's only 30 days or less away, if you know what I mean. But we're not going to go down that. But it might come up, but I'll try to.
I am
going to
do my one plug.
Okay,
do not
good.
Vote on ballot box biology. Vote no on Proposition 127.
Thank you.
So we can save hunting. That's
Heck,
the
yeah.
one that I care about the most.
All right, let's just do it then, because these sons of bitches don't understand the benefits of.
Well, I don't think I answered your question though either. So we're gonna dive off of it because believe me, I got some more coming up, and I've beat this to death with Dan Gates and
Right.
Robbie and just Charles from Hal. Like I've done my part to cover it, right? So I think my audience knows what I'm talking about now. But now is the time to put your mouth where the money is at, and check that box.
Well, and one of your biggest fans is actually my son, McCaffrey. That is his first name, and he is all about not just hunting per se, but preservation and management. And granted, he's in Wisconsin, but every day right now I tease him with these little videos of the bulls running around here going nuts and doing that. And he'll come back, sometime later that afternoon or whenever I get the video, and he'll be like, man, I've been looking at this and this is what it's going to take to get out there and really get after it. And I said, and I just want to be part of that again. And then also at the same time, I haven't hunted for a long time. I used to love it. I lived for it. And perhaps going back to school and moving down to Arizona for a little while and coming back here, I just have not gotten back into it. But I'm not afraid to put these boots back on the ground still and get after it. And I'm an archery guy like you. Have I shot? Not in a long time. But
get your bow. Let's go, man.
Know,
let's go tomorrow. Shit.
Well, you might just take my bow and throw it in the garbage. That thing is a heavy beast,
trust me,
man.
I am no expert hunter, but I just came out. I got to spend 3 full days and probably about maybe a half a dozen, probably like 10 like half days, right? Mm-hmm. Where I'd go up for the morning because I was fortunate enough to draw a tag that was close enough to here that was only like an hour away for me to be in the woods, like out of my truck, hiking in the woods. And I'm no expert hunter, dude. I'm a shitty elk hunter. I'm just gonna say that publicly right now, dude. I'm gonna save you guys all the little comments that you send me and shit.
Right.
Yeah, I suck at it. But just being out there, man, it is so important to me and my mental health and my well-being, I think, as a person. And then when you are successful, having that gratitude for what you're putting on your dinner table, every time that you cook it, there's something in that. There's some sort of connection in that. And I think it takes time. Like that 3 days was not enough. A lot of times when I go, I try to go for like 12 consecutive days and try to go out of a backpack and try to not, pick up my phone unless I'm taking a photo or checking in with the family or whatever. But a lot of the places I go, you don't have cell phone service, right?
Right.
But just that break, and it takes you like 3 days to kind of really like wake up and I love going solo because you don't have any interactions. You don't have any other influences. You're just in your own head, and you can really figure some shit out, man.
You certainly do. Oh my gosh. You just reminded me of back when I was really getting into it. I lived up north of here in Fort Collins and would hunt around the parts of Cameron Pass before you're getting into that Rand and Walden area. Just outside the park.
Is that the Santa Ana Cristo Mountains?
No, that's going to be south. That is
Rocky Mountain National Park.
This is how much I'm out of it these days. But that range right there is not the Zirkles, because that's to the west of Walden. It's I don't know, whatever that thing is that runs all the way up towards like Waikolo and Woods Landing and all that. That whole stretch, and that comes right into Rocky Mountain National Park. And I know that because when I would pack in on my own and hike in there I started out with just a 2-man tent, and then I went to like a 1.5, and then a 1-man tent, and eventually just a bivy sack, because the lighter you can go. I don't know if I got as far as to say I was one of those guys who sawed my toothbrush in half to cut weight, but they do that stuff.
Yeah.
But I thanks to people, shout out to Cameron Haynes, obviously, the best. What impressed me the most about him was he trained. He's training and running and doing these ultra marathons in the mountain to just stay in shape and be ready for his upcoming elk hunts. And now he's at the stage where he's got even more responsibility than he ever had. So he can't afford to let anybody down. He's got this responsibility. And I ran into him 100 years ago and just said, "Thank you for your book, Backcountry Bow Hunting. How do I get over my fear of mountain lions when I'm out there on my own and going?" And he goes, "Mountain lions are the least of your worries, pal." He goes, "Don't break an ankle out there."
Yeah, no
or
shit.
Don't get lost, because this was just at that forefront of us getting GPS signaling, and it cost a lot of money if you had an emergency and so on. But he did give me the confidence to look at that ridge and go, "I'm not going back to a base camp tonight. I'm continuing on, and I'm going to go over that ridge, and I'm going to see what's on that other side, because damn it, I know there is something on that other side." And I did that in this same spot for about 3 years, I want to say, even going out and scouting weeks in advance just to see what was going to happen out there.
That's crucial.
And I just remember one day that I think I called in a hunter. I was bugling a little bit, and
It's easy to do these days.
Oh, and I told the guy, I just said, "Look, I've been doing this up here for at least 3 or 4 years now, and I'd never seen a person back here." And when I saw that, I thought, "Oh my gosh, it's becoming popular." And what made me think about it was you were talking about bringing home elk or deer. I mean, there's just no greater meat, in my opinion, that you can go out and get on your own, not only the reward of it, but fill your fridge without, who knows what's in half the stuff we get today, right?
Yeah.
And now you've got something it's true to nature. But because of the popularity of it growing, I'm concerned about some things too. Does that make sense? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
remember forever you never saw a single car driving around here with one of them fly rod racks on it. I mean, now they've got triple four rod holders. I still throw mine in the back of my truck, and I love fly fishing. But man,
You
I just
take
never
a spinner rod down to the Dream Stream, you're probably going to get beat up.
No, you're done. I'll just crack it over my knee, man.
Right.
So,
Well, and
yeah.
I think that we've had a huge influx in people here, and I think Colorado Parks and Wildlife is doing an extraordinary job of managing it all and managing wildlife populations. That's their job, right? That's what we give them so many tax dollars to do, and it's not even really the tax dollars. That's what hunters and fishermen pay in by buying tags.
Yeah.
Is so we can have sustainable wildlife, right? So we can continue to hunt, but also at the same time, it's a win-win, because the hunters are helping the wildlife biologists by managing the populations to the right size that they need to be to have an ecosystem. And they're not considering just elk or just deer or just mountain lions or just wolves. It's all of it, all down to like field mice,
Right.
It's crazy. There's like 900 different species of animals in the state of Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable. And you start from the plains and then, end up at 14,000 feet. The species change as you get up into altitude. I mean, they're like bighorn sheep, mountain goats. And then you come down to 8,000 feet. You have mule deer and elk. And even the elk will, in the summer, get up into that 12,000 foot range.
That's where I would start out. I had to hunt above timberline to get these guys just along that edge of it, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. But isn't it true, though? Like, weren't the elk originally plains animals? Do you know I don't know the whole history
God,
of it.
I don't know. I wish
I heard
Ranella,
we pushed them up there, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
I mean, I think what I've found is it seems like there's herds that live at all sorts of different elevations. Like there's herds that live at higher elevations. There's herds that know that, hey, if I live on the golf course at Evergreen, I'm not going to get hunted. So I'm going to show up 2 days before archery season opens.
Right.
Which you can mark your goddamn clocks, man, because that's what I love to go out and shoot. So I know when they come in. And it's literally like the week before archery season opens. These 300-400 class bulls walk right onto the golf course, like
Yeah.
they're just super smart. But I think that I don't think they migrate as much as we think that they do.
Not as much probably here.
Yeah.
They're like geese. Geese don't go south anymore, right?
Right.
They barely leave the golf course. These
Yeah.
deer, the deer and the elk. I always thought that maybe it's just because we've been in some. We didn't have a fire ban last summer, but this summer the fire ban came on very early.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime that we have 4th of July related type of fireworks, they all seem to disappear for a few weeks. Maybe but we're not in a rifle hunting area. But for some reason, it always seems when these fireworks happen that they kind of seem to go into hiding for a little bit. But not this year at all, though.
I was actually out shooting elk this morning at like 7:00 this morning.
Really?
Not far from here. Yeah,
Like just dropping elk?
No. With my camera, Mike. With my camera. Yeah, I guess I need to make that clear.
Yeah.
That's honestly my favorite thing to do is take my camera out into the woods and go try to capture something.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's something that lasts forever, and it's not as much work. Right.
Right.
And I don't really enjoy it. Like, I'm not a bloodthirsty guy. I don't really enjoy killing stuff, to be honest with you.
No.
I get kind of emotional about it. Like, it's just not, it's not an enjoyable thing for me to do. As much as I enjoy the process and challenging myself, and like, the killing part is probably the worst part. Like, watching the life leave an animal,
Yeah.
being an animal lover is something I never want to see. Or like this morning, when I went out, the herd that I was on, there was a cow that was basically 3-legged, and her leg was just all swollen up. And I was like, she's going to die. She's not going to make it through winter.
No.
She's going to be the first bit of food for a predator, right?
Yeah.
A lion and that's kind of why predators are there, is to clean up, the sick and the weak. It's survival of the fittest, right?
Yeah.
But even like this morning, just me by myself, no human influence other than myself and this herd of elk. As soon as I stepped out of my truck, walked 100 yards up and started shooting this bull, he did not want to be on camera.
Isn't that
So
something?
he pushed his cows right into, he saw me as a threat,
Yeah.
right? Obviously. And I'm just standing out there with my camera lens and just pushed his cows right back into the woods, and then took them on this north face that was like super deep, bedded them down.
That's so,
So like even that is impacting me. Being out with my camera is impacting wildlife.
Right.
So how about this asshole that doesn't get his muffler fixed that drives by here all the time? Like,
Right.
Backfiring, like all that little bit of stuff, or like people just recreating, being out, just that interference of them being out and being in these open spots where these elk do migrate and it is habitat for them, right?
It is.
You can't hunt there. They're still being impacted by humans, but
Yeah.
there's no way around that. We're part of the ecosystem too, man. Like,
We are.
I think that a lot of people, Dan Gates has brought this up the last couple times that he's been in here. It's like, we're the biggest part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's
And
not
we have the
just-
biggest responsibility too.
Yeah.
It ain't our world, man.
There's not 7 million elk in Colorado. I can guarantee you that.
No, and it's who knows what's going to become of it with some of the initiatives out there. But you're correct. We live in when I lived in Fort Collins, I used to love going up to Estes Park, grabbing the fly rods, and I don't even think you can go into Moraine Park like you used to. You used to be able to go up there and feel like you had the entire park to yourself, and it was just that stream and that open field, and you'd see elk and you'd get home and you'd
Big
be,
bulls, man,
big
too.
bulls. And you'd just say, I wish people could see what I saw today. Or you'd go over Trail Ridge Road and you see all that. We are, and regrettably so, not to bring more people to Evergreen, but at least more so this fall has felt so much more like a second version of Estes Park around here. Every day there's some elk just...
The weather's been so nice though, too.
Yeah.
You can, as soon as the temperature drops down to like 30 or something,
Yeah.
all these weekend warriors, I guess is what I call them, will be.
Oh, no.
They're not going to leave the couch, dude. They're going to stay home and watch
Gainesville.
football, right? But
Right.
when it's 75 and
Yeah.
like the end of September, like I'm still walking around in flip flops, man.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and just even at the library yesterday, I pulled in there and I took a picture, and I put it on one of the posts. I don't normally do that, but it just a couple of these elk shots have been unique in their own. And there's a deal with a bunch of cows and their yearlings sitting there, and they're all sleeping and just with their heads kind of tucked in their sides or laying. One of them had it over the curb, but the sign right above them said staff parking only. and I just thought, I got to get this picture and share it. And then the week before, pulling in down here by the lake, early morning, cool morning, this mist and this fog's coming up, and I can hear two bulls bugling and cows running around, some coming out of the lake, some going into the lake, and they're and I pull into the lot right there by the lake, not the one over here, but more like where the restaurants are right there, and I look around, and people have got their high-powered lenses out and these, reaching out and getting in. Fortunately, they're not like running around with a cell phone and sticking it in the elk's face. Mm-hmm. They're smart.
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah. Well, the point is, I rolled down my window. I said, geez, it looks like frickin' National Geographic out here.
Yeah.
Forgetting the fact that I have a decal on the side of my truck that says Michael Pintar Photography. and somebody said, are you going to get out and shoot? I go, no, I got to work on rodeo pictures, man. I've got to. So I was going into the coffee shop, but I said, oh, what the hell? My lens is right back here. Reached out. I took maybe less than 5 minutes of some photos and got this bull elk that just bugled in the smoke, or the steam's coming out of his mouth, coming off of his back. The sun's hitting it just right. If you looked at that picture, you would think I was up on the top of some mountain peak and hiked to or whatever. It was right here in town.
The hardest part here in town is getting the human influence out of it, like trying to shoot them where there's no house behind them or enough bokeh, so like it looks like it.
Well, the cars were going right by him.
I know,
but you would never know that.
You can't take any video, man, because it's like they look like these majestic elk in this unbelievable setting, which it is. No. But then you hear like horns and sirens, and it sounds like a damn city.
Yeah, it's just a retail parking lot, man. Yeah. We just had that moose over at King Supers the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the moose came through Elk Meadows, and then the next day that moose was over in King Supers. Big moose. I think it was a nice bull. I didn't get to see him. I heard about it.
Man, I saw the biggest bull moose I've ever seen in the state of Colorado.
Where did you see that?
Hunting. Can't tell you.
Can't tell you.
I can tell you off the mic.
Yeah, I can tell you off the mic. Well, I know where some of them are because I used to live that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, my God, man. This thing was a monster. Mm-hmm. Big bull. I haven't seen a bull like that. But we don't get... The moose here are small, man. They're dinky compared to, like, Montana, and you get up north, like Alaska.
Yeah.
Some of those moose are ginormous.
Well, we have the Shiras moose here.
Okay.
Which was introduced here, and when in the same area that I used to elk hunt in, up by Michigan Reservoir area, I was south of that, closer to the park. So I was across Highway 14. But when you got up into Michigan Reservoir and that area, it never failed. I was on 2 moose hunts up there, not my own, but my friends who had gotten their tags. I don't think I could hunt a moose. I think they're almost too easy to hunt. Maybe if it came to the big time wild ones like a Yukon or something like that, Alaska, I might consider that. But up there, that herd is thriving, and you'll see these massive Shiras now that have been allowed to mature. So you're right. You probably are seeing that big ass moose because he's been able to mature. It's taken a long time. I don't know the whole history about when they flew him in here, but I think they brought him in from either Utah or Idaho or maybe parts of Montana. All I know is that the moose population is doing well here,
and it's a great habitat for him, man. It's unbelievable habitat. So that makes sense. Like that always kind of made sense to me, like to have moose here. But then we spent all this money and time, and next thing you know, you got wolves.
I knew it was coming. Just wait. I'm like, here comes the wolf talk.
But this is back to the ballot box biology, not to bring up politics again, but we just need to we just need to mind our own business as human beings.
Weren't the fox?
If you're pumping petrol into your car and going to Starbucks and you don't have a badge that says Colorado Parks and Wildlife on it, then you shouldn't have any sort of influence on wildlife other than the impacts that you're making in just your day-to-day.
Or unless you're a card-carrying or license-holding hunter, fisher person.
Or a wildlife biologist.
Yeah. And you don't even have to have that title. Also have common sense, too, right? we're in a political side of things right now. Look at both sides. Try to understand both sides, then make a decision. Don't be so one-sided because you don't like a certain person or hate, as they use so much now. Same goes with this wildlife management. Just try to gain an understanding of it before you vote something into the state that could very well affect the livelihood of the very animals that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel that someday that same meadow that I just talked about, Elk Meadows, you're going to be sitting there going, oh, look at the cool dog running towards that elk out in Elk Meadow, and it grabs it by the jugular along with 13 others, and you go, holy shit. And you go, I think I voted for them to be here. They were going to be here anyway, damn it, right? So what the hell,
Yeah, whether you voted or not, they're here.
I just want to catch a few alive, I've told you this, and let them loose in Denver and say, hey, you guys voted for them.
Red Rocks, right?
Here we go. There's the rabbit hole I said we weren't going to go down.
No,
Anyway.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
But man, there's nothing better than here. I just hope that doesn't go away, because once you start having wolves and they start having that predator and that pressure, like one of the most majestic things that I love about where we live is the elk still bugle here. A lot of times, even when I get into these high pressure areas, the elk just don't talk, man.
No.
And there's something about that bugle that is just, I don't know, it makes me excited. I enjoy it. It was funny this season because I was only hunting an hour away and I've been so busy with the family and everything that they got going on. I feel like a damn chauffeur, man, but it's all worth it. But yeah, it's crazy. I was waking up at 3:00 in the morning. It's been so warm. I've been sleeping with the windows open because we don't have AC. It's 3:00 in the morning. I'm getting up to go get into my hunting spot, putting on camo, and there's elk bugling in my yard. And then I'm driving an hour away to go into a spot where the elk aren't bugling because they have that amount of pressure,
Yeah, we are a sanctuary. We truly are. And there's so many people, they'll leave here, drive for hours, get out in the wilderness and not see a damn thing. They get home and their aspens are all chewed up by all the elk that were in their driveway. It's just the nature of where we're at. And I know there's spots around here where you can hunt if you have the right acreage. And again, I'm out of touch, so I can't even tell you what unit we're in here. I used to be able to tell you everything and probably have some private land lined up. It's just I've been out of touch. But my respect still remains. Yeah,
man. I think that's important. I think that before you knock something, you actually have to try it, right? So like before somebody critiques all of your photos, they should go stand in a rodeo arena with you for a day and experience it, right? And that's one thing that I'm trying to do with this new series on the mountainside is like, okay, I'm having these people on, I'm talking to them about all this cool shit. But I'm actually going to go experience it too. So just to make it, I want to put myself in their shoes, So like,
it's the best way to empathize. That's where the word empathy,
or to understand it, right?
Yeah, and you can make a decision from that. But at least go experience it, or do what you can to get the most from that experience. Where you look at it and you go, "Nah, it's not for me," right? But at least you're going to have something to say about it now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
You're doing that. You're in the field, man. You're getting after it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So it's finally like
I look around here and I can see the rewards of your efforts to try to get out there and get after it. And that's awesome.
Man, I really enjoy it. It's been a dream for the podcast, I guess, and it was never just about the podcast. It was always a bigger vision than that. And now we're making enough money that I'm actually being able to go and do that.
Good.
Have some sponsors paying for some of that and stuff. So
that's fantastic to hear. Yeah, you and I've talked about that off camera where we just said, hey, what's it take? How does it get to that level where you can again, like we opened it up with that talking about.
I don't think I ever answered your question, but
we probably did. we can ramble a little bit, but where that all of a sudden it just all of a sudden you look back and you go, wow, there's some exponential growth here. Well, that doesn't happen overnight, right? And so I think kudos to you for really doing what you've been doing, and diversity is great too. I've told you 100 times, I go, what am I doing on your podcast?
Oh, come on, man! I love having you on.
It's
like I tracked your growth from the beginning to where you're at now. It's tenfold, Mike. Like.
Yeah, well, thank you.
It's hard when you're in the driver's seat and you're the guy that works on it every day.
Well,
right?
it's
hard to see that.
And I wish that there were things that on my end of it where I really did treat it like a business coming out of the gates and really going, hey, look, I've got time, money, and effort invested into this. How do I get the ROI that this should be producing? When I look at other photographers out there in my field and like fields that are taking probably half of the equipment that I have and thriving, and that's because they're going out there and they're just getting after it gangbusters. It's not going to land in your lap like I thought it would for the longest time. And I'm at that stage where right now I either just have to figure it out or get after it because there's people half my age out there that are killing it. And that's maybe why I try to keep these wheels underneath me, because I still am comfortable shooting in the arena or getting after it or laying down in the dirt like I just did 2 weeks ago, and getting shots. But yeah, just trying to get away from that comparison thing and sticking to what I do.
Yeah, man.
So
no, you can't compare yourself. I think the moment that you start doing that, it starts influencing your art too. And that's kind of what I was getting at with the podcast, I guess. When I go and listen to other podcasters, I don't want to bring up the same topics.
Yeah.
Or if the same topics come up, I don't care then, because then I know it was genuine. It wasn't like something that I'm regurgitating, right?
Right.
So I think that's a big part of it, is like, honestly, I haven't even really been on social media. I'm just doing the whole like post and ghost thing because I'm so sick of, I just figured out the other day on Instagram that there is an actual way, because the thing that I hated about was going on the feed and it's just ad after ad, and then all this force-fed stuff. Like, just because I looked at one girl twerking one time, they think I want to see every
that's
girl
your
twerking
algorithm
in it,
now.
right?
Yeah, I
and
told
then
you.
I want to follow them, right? So it's suggested follows or something like that. Mm-hmm. You can toggle that off for 30 days. You have to go back in and do it for another 30 days or something.
Oh.
But there's somewhere in the settings in there where you can go in,
turn off suggestions,
and turn that off. And now I'm just seeing my friends and the stuff that I want to see. So like, I've set some boundaries with myself.
Right.
Like, I've made a rule that I'm going to focus most of my time, because on YouTube I can choose what I watch and when I want to watch it. And a lot of the people that I'm following are putting the same content over both platforms. But on Instagram or something like that, so I don't fall down the rabbit holes, is I have to specifically go to the search menu and type in. I'm not just going to scroll. I'm not allowed to scroll on Instagram. Like, literally, that's just my own self-rule, that I have to go into the search and type in Michael Pintar.
Fantastic.
And then I go through, and then I'm just looking at your posts. That's what I hopped on to see anyways. I want to see what Mike's doing. I want to see what Half Face Blades is doing. I want to see what Blood Origins is doing. I want to see what Cameron Haynes is doing, or what has Rogan got going on this week, or, the UFC, and then that way it's more focused.
Yeah.
But even then I started getting frustrated with it to where I just put it down, because I would get through like 2 or 3 posts and I'd be looking at Half Face Blades because they have these beautiful works of art, amazing knives. And I enjoy seeing it. They call it blade porn.
Well, I'd like to have at least part of that blade porn. Man. He does amazing work. So,
oh my God, it's badass.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I enjoy seeing those, and I enjoy seeing his growth. I love watching my friends thrive. I think that's one of the best things about social media, is seeing your growth. And I love going and looking at your photos, man, because like Instagram is built for photographers. That's what it all originated on, was still photographs. So I still love that concept, and I don't think there's any better way to see it, right?
Right.
But even in those, when I was going in, before I toggled that off, I would get suggested followers. It would bring up other photographers or other Western influenced photographers, and that has worked to our advantage too, I think, as being force-fed into some algorithms and stuff like that.
Kind of a necessary evil, right?
Yeah.
Like, for those of us who we kind of need it, we have to have that. It's not about the head count of followers itself, but to put yourself out there, you kind of got to do it. Call it what it is. There can be arrogance behind some of it. I swore off a while back that even if I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll look at pretty women on Instagram. How do you not, if that algorithm catches that? At the same time, I'll have something like hunting related or airplane related or corgis of all things. Yes, folks, I owned a couple corgis. But the point is that I said no more of these women holding up their phone in front of a mirror and they're just getting this thing to drive their ego. What are they doing for freaking society? All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. So I tried to cut that out, and it wasn't hard to do, based upon, like you said, suggested stuff. And then I just kind of went, all right, that's fine. Maybe this person is great, but I don't want to see that. I want somebody who's doing something. Mm-hmm. Question. Do you consider yourself an artist?
Not on this platform.
Okay.
I think I've always been driven towards art. I've always been driven towards photography. You know,
right.
I was trying to be a wildlife photographer at one point. I still sell a few pieces that are, landscapes and elk. And I've been published in a couple magazines, for some of the elk photos that I've taken and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that there's still a passion there. I'd still like to pursue that. The podcast has kind of taken over. It's like with having a family, and you got to have a singular focus, right? Like yours is rodeo. It's not out taking photos of everything and anything.
You start out that way a lot of times.
Yeah, right. Yours is very Western influenced, right? Mm-hmm. Because you found your niche, right? So yeah, I guess I do consider myself an artist. And then as much as I hate editing, I think that my influence on creating some of the shorts has been beneficial, just because I know my vision. I'm able to pick what I think is cool. Mm-hmm. And you're only editing a minute video, which sometimes can take 2 hours, right? Like we're not doing it through AI.
No.
Like shout out to Matty Ghost. He's been such a huge in my corner. Like our YouTube in the last 48 days, we've gotten like 1,500 subscribers. I have a short, that I did with Blake Miller. Shout out to Blake Miller.
Yeah,
awesome
you guys had
bullfighter.
a great interview too.
And so I think his podcast did like maybe, I don't even know if it's at 1,000 views for the actual podcast.
Right.
On YouTube. But I know for a fact, because it's our most viewed reel ever, 1 minute clip from that podcast has got 500,000 views.
Wow.
So that's just driving people to the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And there's some art that goes into that, because then you're picking, it's kind of like a highlight reel. Like you're picking some of their content, some of your content, you're overlaying it, maybe you're adding a song. So yeah, I think that there's a little bit of art that goes into that. And Matt is a true artist. Mm-hmm. I've taken what he's molded and what he knows works and put my own spin on it. And I still have him doing it, and he can still create stuff that just blows me away.
Right.
Like these clips that are like inspirational and motivational, and it's all positive stuff that we're putting out. It's not like bullshit, right? Like I think that that's important too, it has to be a win for everybody. Like my guest should be happy, audience should be happy, I should be happy with it, and the editor should be happy. And then if the rest of the world is, great, right?
Right. So you're an artist.
I think so.
You are. I already know you are, damn it. I'm getting to this because that's always been this latent thing in you.
Yeah.
You've shared that with me. And if you get a chance, if you haven't read it already, read Pressfield's. I think it's Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art. And I just started re-listening to it. It's only like a 2-hour listen, 2.5 hour listen. But there's so much takeaway from that, from what you can be as in terms of being an artist. And you have to, one of the things I was just listening to earlier today was about the importance of knowing who you are as an artist, and plain and simply not giving a shit what others think. It's your territory. It's what you do. And if you love doing what you're doing, then people are going to come to you if they love doing what you're doing. They're going to be out there. Mm-hmm. But could you, if I love the question, if you were the last person on the face of the earth, would you still be doing what you're doing? And that question alone.
Shit, my model would be fuck though, because I need somebody sitting across from me for this model.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for this model, because this is a podcast.
Yep.
But you just drilled it down to the fact that you just got out today and we're behind the lens again. And that's something that you love doing.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you call yourself a professional in photography or not, you still have a love for doing it. You don't have to be a professional. Just are you doing something that makes you feel good? And you just said it earlier. It makes you feel damn
100%.
good.
And
right?
even with the podcast, I guess it's the creative direction. Like I've picked all the cameras, picked all the camera angles. This has been my envisionment. I pick all the guests. I'm not force-fed
Right.
any guests. It's just I've been so bad lately. I think I hit you up yesterday. It was like, yo, you want to record tomorrow?
Well,
but sometimes those are the best because it's like if you give people too much time, now that the platform's growing, I can see when people walk in and they have like just this
agenda.
They're just nervous.
Right.
No, they're just nervous, man, because I don't really ever have anybody on that has an agenda.
No.
Unless I genuinely want to talk to them, right?
Right.
So yeah, I guess some of them have an agenda. Some of them are nonprofits. Some of them are political driven stuff, but it's all stuff that I align with, I guess, and want to hear the facts. And I think it's important for people to hear the facts. So I guess I kind of take that back, but really it's my creative direction. And at the end of the day, like I'm the one that's the puppet master, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. That's, I mean, this is still your directive. This is what you're doing. This is what you're driving. But without you, I wouldn't be probably known in a lot of ways. And you've helped me get out there and do that. Well, it's helped
but
me.
it helps everybody, right?
It's relevancy, right? Mm-hmm. It helps you stay relevant. Now, I know there's people probably, there's just simply places that aren't even ever going to see this or hear about it. But the thing is it helps you stay relevant, whether it's to your passion or what you do day to day. No matter who you have here, it creates that relevancy and it keeps that relationship going. You've made a lot of friends through this stuff.
Oh,
what did you say a while back? You're like, I think I've done how many of these now, and I only have one or two enemies out of the whole thing, or two people. I remember you saying that. Well, you're not going to appease to everybody,
right? Yeah. No, I think I've only rubbed a couple people wrong, but I've definitely done like 200 podcasts, and I would consider myself having 200 new friends because. The one thing that I really enjoy and really love about this more than anything, it's not like an ego thing and like, look who I talk to. It's the human connection. Because whether you call somebody on the phone or even if you're sitting at a bar or maybe you go out for a coffee or something, you're always going to be interrupted. There's always going to be, somebody walking into your conversation or into your vicinity. And this is like a private box where you genuinely get to sit down and lock in and have a conversation with somebody, even more so than being like in the wilderness because, maybe there's some responsibility. I do experience that in the backcountry when I'm with my brothers, when we have some of the best conversations. But I think they would be better even in here because even there, did you hear that elk bugle? Or did you hear, this is a soundproof box where you come in and you're expected just to talk, and I think it's where you can truly figure out who a human is. And that's why I've been so picky on who I have in here too. It's like, it's gotta be somebody that inspires me or, somebody that I want to hear their perspective on something that they're doing, whether they're a quadriplegic,
right,
or a former Navy SEAL, or a professional rodeo photographer,
right,
or an archaeologist, or a UFC fighter. I want to hear their perspective.
And what about? Is it always with the intent that this might ring home to an audience, or is it really? It's driven on your interest, right? I think Rogan kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, when I was going back to it, was like, oh God, I should get this guest because he has this following.
Right.
And I quickly found out that was like, that's not the best approach, right?
No.
It's genuinely somebody that I'm like, God, I'm interested in this, or I want to find out about this, or I'm a fan of this, and I want to hear it from their perspective.
Yeah.
What they experience, right? Because the fighter interviews are 5 minutes long, right? Before they step into the octagon. And it's a highlight reel of all their knockouts and all the badass shit that they've done. But I think that's why podcasting has taken off, is because it's a way for people to sit back and listen to two people have a genuine conversation without having to have any interactions. You can be in the gym, you can be driving, you can be in the backcountry, you can, be anywhere and listen to something and feel like you're kind of part of a conversation.
And every now and then, I shouldn't say every now and then, but most of the time, something rings home in those conversations, something that really sticks that you can hopefully take with you. That's what I always look for. I'll look at who is going to be on there, even whether it's yours or it is, a Rogan or a Dale Brisby or an Andrew Huberman kind of thing. You can kind of pick and choose on that. And that's what also makes the podcast really nice. And
I think that the diversity that I have I guess the first checkbox is, are you a badass? And then,
that's not a bad idea.
That's the people I like to talk to, is people that are better at everything than I am. But I think that having a place where they can showcase it and just letting them talk, not only am I getting something out of it, I think everybody is, and they are as well. I think that I've figured out some stuff, and I think people have figured out some stuff about themselves in here. I know that I certainly have.
Yeah.
When you have to tell your life story, it's like, oh, fuck, where do I begin? It's like,
right.
That's a hard thing to do, man.
Well, you even said when you first got started, you said, man, I had to go back and critique myself, right? Am I cutting things off? And I even find myself doing that too, where I'm going, you'll hear me say it. Right. Yeah. And somebody taught me a long time ago, it just means I'm listening, but I don't hear myself unless I go back and listen to myself. And I've only gone back a few times and listened to ours, or if I have, I've just done it in little spurts or parts, or shared it with somebody and said, hey, check out this part. We talked about you and that kind of thing. But you even said you had a lot to learn when you started out, and who doesn't, right?
Oh, a ton. I was the worst at this when I first started.
Yeah.
I was so bad. I would cut people off. It's like, this has made me genuinely sit down and just listen to somebody. I think that is the hardest part of being a podcast host, is just listening. Mm-hmm. Like, knowing when to shut the fuck up, man. Like, I have a couple rules when I come in here. It's frame up and shut up. And those are the only rules, right?
I like that. That is good.
Yeah,
that is good.
You're not going to hear anybody's experience if you keep cutting them off and start steering them down. And I'm still learning, man. Like, I've done it. A lot of it is putting in the reps. So, like, me doing these at least once a week or more, like, even just coming back from this break, I had we had a few in the bag. So I ended up where there was like 3 weeks where I didn't do a podcast because I had a couple in the bag. And then between traveling for live entertainment that I still do every once in a while, and then elk hunting, I'd gone like 3 weeks without doing a podcast, and I came in here and I picked up some of those old habits of just like, you don't have to acknowledge to somebody that you're listening other than just looking at them.
Right.
You don't have to say, yeah, or or I get it, but you do kind of have to. I still do it at the same time.
I probably have done it 1,000 times since we started. And again, I don't like hearing myself when I come back and.
Oh, listening to yourself is the worst. Or seeing yourself on camera.
You can do, yeah.
God, man, that's really. God, looking, now that I'm doing these On the Mountainside series, like, I'm like, God, dude, the camera really does add like 20 pounds, dude. I need to get my ass in the gym and really get back after it.
My goodness, yeah.
I'm my own worst critic, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I told you to, when I walked in, you're like, damn, you look like you're working out. I go, no, I'm on the starving artist diet. And I don't like being a starving artist at my age, but it just makes you stronger. So,
dude, I think that it'll make you appreciate it more, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the one thing. If I went and bagged a 300 class bull every year, I probably wouldn't enjoy elk hunting as much as I do now, right? Like, it happens every few years, So it's like,
yeah,
when it does happen, you really take it in. You really enjoy that moment. You really appreciate what happened to you. I think that it's kind of the same way as an artist, man. Like, if you haven't been through those struggles, you can't just be expected to have it handed to you. And don't think that anybody's going to help you. Like, no, this is going to be the next thing. You should be self-reliant, man, because that's the only That's the only thing. And I've been so fortunate and not really honestly going out and looking for that. It's always been about like propping up whoever's across from me. I'm not selfishly going looking at it. Like, for example, that post that you made the other day about I was confused by that because it was something to do with the PRCA website and podcasting, right? Or something like that.
It was actually indirectly, intentionally confusing. My good buddy Josh Wilson, shout out to J-Dub down in Arizona, rodeo guy. He was a team roper, and he's also a really quick creative with stuff on the phone. And if anybody tunes into the PRCA or you get on there on a weekly level, you'll look up the standings, and what happens is in those standings.
For like here, the rodeo cowboys,
like you see
here, the best saddle bronc
Derek
rider.
Just pulled it up here. So you've got the standings there. That's all around world leader. So to be an all around, you have to compete in at least two events. Naturally, Shad's back up there. He's the best. He's awesome, man. But so that's what that page looks like, okay, for all around. But if you page up, Derek, if you would for me, and click, see where it says all around, there's a drop down right there. But if you go to say bareback or bull riding right there, go to bareback. So you'll see probably Rocker Steiner, yep, number one. And then Keenan, our guy here from Hayden, Colorado, who just won the world last year. Shout out to Keenan. He was number one all season long until the final week. And then Rocker went in and kicked ass up in South Dakota. But these are the guys now that the season's over. So we just finished the season. That ends on September 30th. And I've told you this before, it starts again on October 1st. So the rodeo really never ends. But the 2024 season is over. Now the top 15 in each one of these, the rodeo event categories, is going to the National Finals Rodeo in December. And Josh sends me this deal, and it shows myself up there. And initially he had Keenan and Leighton Berry in there. And I go, well, dude, I'm not a rough stock rider. I mean, I tried riding bulls 100 years ago. And he goes, well, hang on, let me work on that. And then he sent back the one that, Derek, you might have it up on there. It's somewhere on, I think, my Instagram page. But the deal is it was one of those deals where it showed that similar page. So if you're at
it's right there.
Yep. So if you're looking for the end of the season or whatever, and he puts this fictitious deal up, Michael Pintar, War Podcast on-air leader, 1.3 million cast in 2024, followed by Dale Brisby, much less Joe Rogan, the number one listened to podcast in the world. And then he takes, because he knows he's met, JW's met Click before. Click is going back to his, I want to say, third or fourth NFR in a row now. He was back-to-back PRCA photographer of the year. This guy is phenomenal. I've had the privilege of shooting with him over the years. I even think I went to one of his, I went to one of his schools, and I told myself I was going to be the first guy to go to one of his schools and come out and be a PRCA card holder after that. And I did. I stuck to it. But the funny part is if you look, Click's only got 13,000. I mean, this guy kicks my ass in photography. So we just put it up there as a joke. And then I kind of forgot about it. But you guys
he fucks with you too, right?
Oh, he does all the time. Yeah.
Like putting stickers on your truck.
At
whatever,
Cheyenne, yeah. Two Cheyennes ago, he goes and sticks Click has his logo. It's become his trademark, his MO, and 2 weeks after Cheyenne, I didn't even know it. He went up to the bumper of my truck where I've got this Instagram thing and that little camera in there, and that little sticker fits perfectly right in that little camera part of my Instagram, and it's still on my truck. So shout out to Click. But the point is, this was it was a joke. And so the deal is that I kind of forgot about it. And then even some local people go, my God, I did not know you're like that popular. I said, I'm not.
Such a diehard loyalist, right? When
yeah.
I saw this pop up on the mountainside, because I think you tagged me, right?
Yeah, I had to. You're it. You're my podcast.
So I turned around and reshared it on my story, and I tagged Dale and Joe Rogan and Click, so they could all make sure that they saw it. Right?
Oh, that is great. Yeah, so that's the humor.
I don't know that Joe ever saw it, but Dale definitely.
Saw it.
Gave it a thumbs up or a little heart.
Dale saw it for sure, which brings up a good point. I was thinking about Dale the other day, and we were just talking about it. What podcasts can do, and Dale's his world, his market, his brand stretches well outside of the podcast world. Otherwise, in fact, he had a brand before he even was doing the podcast. But I wanted to ask him, and maybe you can help me with this, but how do people like that stay relevant, right? I mean, because right now, and at least one of the biggest hotbeds in my industry is that Western lifestyle, the rodeo culture, the ranching stuff. And Dale is the epitome of that in a lot of ways. But he also has a character and a persona that he's created about himself, his brand. And I just want to go, how do you stay relevant, right? I even get a text every week, some kind of update for what he's been doing. He was on an elk hunt too. He loves to hunt. He was doing some Bible verses for a while there, and things like that. And it's cool. So those are things that he does to stay relevant, to stay fresh. But man, how do you do it? Do you have to have that podcast to do this?
Man, I don't think so. I don't think you have to have a podcast, right? I think that the biggest sign of success for me is it's not, and this is no disrespect to anybody that is a fan of the podcast or anything like that. Like, it always feels good when I do get recognized and somebody goes, "Oh, I've been listening to the podcast." I'm just like, "Oh man," I automatically go into this imposter syndrome where I'm like, "Fuck, man, I hope I didn't embarrass myself," or like, you know what I mean? Like, that feeling comes over me, and I've slowly kind of gotten over that, right? Because it's starting to happen more and more, and we are just this little puny podcast in the grand scheme of things. Like, we're not even like yourself in the top, 10 of podcasts. There's so many podcasts out there, but we do have an audience. We do have enough of an audience that I have sponsorship that, so I feel like we're doing pretty good. But the biggest sign of accomplishment for me is when you're accepted by your peers. So like, nothing makes me feel better, and it's never anything that I chase. And that's why I'm gracious to do it. Like, that's why I turned around with this story, because I know for a fact that you probably didn't tag Dale. Like, "Oh, look at me, look at what we made."
Oh no, it's in there. And
hopeful that he would share it, right? But
no, I kind of did. Yeah. I had to, because number one, I don't want to. They wouldn't even be in there if I didn't respect or appreciate them.
Sure.
And I think respect and appreciation is also saying, look, you don't have to even notice this. You guys are too big. But also, I'm still going to tag you, and only because of the fact that your picture's there too.
Right.
So I don't want to misinterpret, misrepresent, create some type of false, pretense. Because anybody who knows me or really knows this, when you open up the PRCA, there's not even a page for that type of thing. But it looked like it. It was cut out of the mold of the PRCA page. So the whole intent was to say, hey, yeah, this is a joke, but thank you guys for being you guys. With you being recognized first and foremost.
And see, that's the right way to take it,
right?
I guess. And that's kind of what I was going back to is like, nothing makes me feel better than being accepted by your peers. Without asking, right? So like when Cameron Haynes turned around and has shared multiple things that we've done or something that he likes, him actually taking the time to share it makes me feel like, oh my God, I'm accepted by the peers. It makes me step up my game too. It's like, fuck, man.
Yeah, you play up, right?
Yeah. And same with Rogan's done it a couple times, and just the guests that we've had on that have said yes, to think that, like having Donnie Dust come in here, or yourself, or Donnie Vincent, or
don't forget Whitney.
Yeah, Whitney Johns or Chris Camozzi. Just that's exception in itself. You're accepted by a group of people. You're accepted by your peers, right? And I don't think that there's anybody that's more of a peer than is sitting across from me, right? So like more than Rogan or more than that, right? Like that's honestly what makes me feel the best is when Derek Wolf or somebody that I don't even know just looks at what I've done with the body of work and the guest list that we've had and said, yeah, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool, man. Like that, I think that's, and I also think that that's how you stay relevant. Because I didn't know shit about Dale until he was I think he was on Cam's podcast. Has he been on Rogan? Didn't he bring Rogan a cowboy hat or some shit?
Yeah, he did. He was on Rogan. Absolutely.
And he's a character, man. I had no idea who he was until, talking to you a little bit, I think. You turned me on to him, and then I've also gone down a JB Mooney rabbit hole,
Oh,
man.
wow.
Like, because I don't really follow rodeo all that much.
Yeah.
Like, even being born and raised around it and having family members and friends that have competed at the highest levels at it in the NFR, not family members, but friends,
Yeah.
has always made me kind of pay attention to it. But I kind of fallen off the last couple of years because all those guys are all old and crippled now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know who all the new shotgun riders are, like.
Well, you just, you know what? You just by sharing what you did, you helped me probably understand that an answer to that question I just asked about relevancy, because Dale is a cowboy.
Yeah.
And he has his saying, you ain't no cowboy. But he can truly say that. He's a ranchy son of a gun. So it's like the old Chris Ledoux song that you just can't see him from the road. Well, he's done all that. He's been the ranchiest, cow-punching son of a gun that also has a persona to himself and a character and a brand. That's the big thing, the brand. So I don't think he even has to worry about staying relevant because he's going to be relevant no matter because of the brand that he created.
Well, I think it's because he's genuine, right?
Well, yeah, but if you're somebody from the outside looking in, how do you know? Or is this just his character? But
It's just his character, and you see him enough times on enough different platforms. I think that's how you stay relevant. And
yeah.
we're really bad about that. Like, I feel like the podcast should be on Rumble. That's one of the things that I want to do, because I feel like that's a platform we should do more on Twitter. I think that that's something, I think I value freedom of speech, and I think that there's no better place to do it. Like, even on YouTube, I have to bleep out curse words, or I have to do these certain things so we can actually get the views, because it's got to fit within their guidelines.
Oh,
So I think having a platform where it doesn't have to fit within any guidelines is where you can be a true artist, right? If somebody came to you and said, Mike, I want 1,000 pictures of saddle bronc riders at their finest, but I want you to make sure that the spurs are not in any of those photos because they might be inhumane. That's basically what YouTube is doing. It's like, we don't want this language. You can't talk about this. And I've just kind of dove off the Richter. Like we've been doing highlights for the podcast. And I get to kind of pick the content. So like it was me talking about psychedelics and microdosing and my psychedelic experiences and what I've learned from it. And we put it up on YouTube, but we cannot collect any money from it because it doesn't fit within their advertising guidelines.
Okay, but you can put it up there.
But I can put it up there. It's not a strike. But if I start talking about, like, if we drop enough, okay, for example,
is this just in essence determine what can be monetized and what can't too?
Not
Does
always
this fall in
too,
those guidelines?
because also YouTube drives their own algorithms, right? So they'll just take you right out of that.
Okay.
So, like, one of my favorite guys on earth, because there's no filters. He calls it like he sees it. He says what he wants. Is Vince from Hell Pichel.
Oh, I don't know.
UFC fighter.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible dude. But his podcast, we got a ton of audio listens, but on YouTube, it just went right off. I mean, I'm not even going to tell you what we talked about.
Really?
Because all those things, you just mention one thing and you get flagged, and then it'll tell you where it's at too.
But do you threaten, like you just said, that your YouTube is growing exponentially in some ways, or some of the things you're doing, but could that be taken away, even though that's already there? So
sure.
So you could screw that up in a lot of ways too.
I just have to say the one wrong thing.
Right.
And which I'm not even sure what that would be.
I thought they'd just simply take it down and go, you're good on the rest.
Well, there's a strike policy.
Oh.
So once you've reached a certain amount of strikes, which I think we might have one.
Oh, way to go.
And it's for like nothing. It's like,
right.
Who determines I won't even tell you what it's about COVID. There we go.
Oh,
just because I said that, yeah.
That's fucked up.
So the moment, But look what it's doing right now. It's altering what I'm saying on this podcast right now.
Right.
And that's their intention, right? Yeah. So Yeah, they
Well,
have their
don't let me
strangleholds
go
on
and
it.
screw up your
No,
YouTube here.
It's just going to screw up yours, man. You're the one that can benefit the most out of this.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I need to get to work on that.
No, but I think those certain things, I think it's important to have platforms where you can share whatever you want, man. So shout out to Elon Musk. And
that
was a huge purchase he paid way too much for that shit.
So needed, though.
So needed, right?
So needed. And I'm not just saying it just because of where we associate. You know where I am, and I know where you are when it comes to our political stance. But there is this feeling that so much has been suppressed that, again, I said it earlier, I want to just hear both sides. But when it's so one-sided, how do we even know what the other side is? Because it has been suppressed.
How do you know without having a conversation? That's what I want to get at, right? Like,
so Elon opened that gate again, and let him in. And well, I mean, even Rogan said it too with the mothership, with his comedy. You went to the mothership,
yeah,
and he says it's classic. It's the comedy that should be comedy. In other words, if you don't like it, get up and walk out. You don't know. Nobody said you had to sit there.
If you don't want to listen to it,
offend you because of something that I said about your race, your creed, your belief, or whatever, it's still it's comedy. It's a joke, right? And people used to have a spine to be able to handle this stuff. Quit taking it so damn personally.
Yeah.
And
I think to bring it back to what you were asking about, like, how do you stay relevant? I think you stay genuine.
Right.
Like, I think that's why, like, that show, I don't know if you watch Kill Tony at all.
Oh,
it's the #1 live podcast in the world. They're selling out
best.
Madison Square Garden and stuff, right? And it's because there's no filters. It's because it's genuine. I think one of the reasons why Rogan has had the success that he's had, not to mention the career that he's had prior to him starting the podcast, but his genuine success and where I actually got to know him was from listening to his podcasts.
Yeah.
Because you can't fake sitting here for 2.5 hours bullshitting, like, about nothing.
Boy, you talk about diversity, too.
Yeah.
He's had everything on there that you can think of, even people that they might start out disagreeing and still disagree at the end, but he still has them there. That's beauty. That's in it. This does circle back to what I was talking about. You just said genuine. So in the War of Art, Pressfield again, that's what it's about. Being genuine too. If you know that God gave you this ability to do something, and you can accept that, and it doesn't have to be God, but the point is identifying, how do you identify, not the way we use identify today, but what I mean is how do you see yourself? And if that's always staying in you, and you know that's what you're called to do, we're born with that. We're born with something that we know is already in us. It's just there, and if we can accept it, that's the biggest thing that I think that book is trying to say, and what Pressfield's trying to say. So being genuine. So yeah, the people that we've just mentioned, and all the above, and all those around us, if they just were trying to see that way, I think we would save a lot of headaches.
Yeah, I think that those people are. I think that's why they're finding success. Like, that's where I found success. And Stephen Pressfield has been a huge influence on me.
Right.
Not only for this, but just for some other things, like just personal stuff in life. And little spoiler alert, I've been going back and forth with him to get him on here.
Oh, really?
So, and he said yes. We just haven't put it together yet.
Wow.
So
you guys going to talk about beggar pants then?
I don't know. We're going to talk about all kinds of shit, man.
Yeah.
But not only is it the War of Art or the Art of War? I always fuck it up. You're going to have to look this up. Just look up Stephen.
Of art.
Yeah.
Because I had to do the same thing with myself. I had to ask myself, I go, is it the art of war? But no, because war in itself is war. What this is the war of art. So that war that you go on in your head about the art that's in me. There it is. The war of art. Yes, I got it.
So not only, I think the biggest thing that stuck out in this book to me was, like, how can you be a professional if you don't have the confidence that you are a professional, right?
Right.
Like, I think that's huge. I think confidence in everything is huge. And I'll take this back to archery in that analogy, because this is where I know confidence matters more than ever before, is when I'm taking an archery shot. If I'm not confident the arrow does not go where it's supposed to go. It's like you have to drive it with your mind the whole time. And this is due to some incredible coaching from Tom Klum Sr., man. Like,
Oh, cool.
and like subconscious aiming and the meditation and the discipline to practice the same thing and the discipline to put in the reps.
The reps.
Right? So it's
What's your comfort zone? Remember how people say, look, I'm not going to shoot less than or more than 35 yards. Well, why is that? Because you haven't stretched it past that yet. But we all start and we reach and we reach and we reach, right? Now look at the distance that people like your Camerons are out there doing. 100 yards is not a problem.
Right.
When you know that just that little millimeter is a matter of inches or a foot.
But if you don't have
yards.
confidence in that shot, the arrow always seems to find a way outside of it. It never just blind faith makes it in there.
And
it's not like, oh my God, I hope this makes it.
Right.
I mean, even if that's going on in the back of your mind, or at least with me in my experience, I have to be so confident that I am driving that arrow even after it leaves my rest, that I'm driving it with my mind into the target where I want it to go. And it's weird. If you do that, you become more successful at archery.
Yeah, it's not drawing back and letting it go. It's breathing. It's the psychology of it. It's the reps. All of that goes hand in hand. Even in my lack of doing that for many, many years now, I still had that foundation, and I know that I could get back into it. It would have to, it wouldn't be just getting on a bike, but it would be relearning and retraining. But some of that's going to come back. The only difference is I'm not going to pull 80 pounds anymore.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
No, I'm geriatric now. I'm
if you want to have bad shoulders, I mean, if you can, the more power to you. And I don't knock anybody that does.
It doesn't have to be.
But archery is its own thing, man. It's its own martial art. It's kind of like what works best for you in that whatever situation you're trying to put yourself in. And there's a million different scenarios, man.
I don't know about you, but archery appealed to me. To get back to a little bit of that archery was no other sport's going to get you closer to the animal either. So, like you said, you go out and you love to photograph them. I passed up on a lot of elk. And I don't want to say I was a trophy hunter, but if I was going to go miles and miles and miles back in the wilderness, I was going to look for a trophy.
It happened to me this season. That's why I wasn't successful. It's like, this is more work than I'm willing to put in right now. It's my own weakness, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like this is, or maybe it just didn't feel right. Like I'm a big like feeling guy. Like I have to have that confidence. When I draw my bow, I have to have that 100% confidence. If there's 1% that I'm not confident, I don't do it. I mean, I did it 2 years ago on this huge muley, and it was like me being a big ass fucking softie, right? And not a true killer.
Yeah.
I walked in, it was during the deer rut, and I got in so close to this buck that I probably could have pulled out my knife. Right?
Yeah.
Just because he was so love struck, and he was with this doe, and they were having this moment. They weren't fucking, but they were just like hanging out together.
Yeah.
Just like love struck, man. It was the weirdest thing. I've never, I mean, the bucks get stupid. I've seen them walk into the side of parked cars because they're so pated over fucking pussy, man. Like it's unbelievable. Right?
Sounds story of our lives.
Yeah. but there was just a moment where it's like I could have ended that whole sequence of nature, and it was just the time of year. It was super, like, it was just this really majestic time where I was in this place all by myself because it was on private property, and it was just like, I can't do this today.
Is that
I
something?
don't have the heart.
No.
I don't have the heart to do it today.
What's great is I can pick. I've been there, so I can visualize that. And thank you for putting me in that because I would have been like you. I would have been the same way.
It's probably because I was microdosing that day too. I was really appreciating nature, dude.
Yeah,
like taking it in.
Peace and love, bro. I mean, no, but it's like, but you're right. I mean, and there's a visual sense to that. But here's the thing. You got a story to tell because of it. And it's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to be, again, you got that closeness, that intimacy with not only the surroundings around you, but another life that you could have easily taken. You had the will, or you had the means, I should say, to be able to do that, but the will to decide whether or not you were going to. That's beautiful, man.
Well, it's weird. It was the whole thing went through my scenario. I'd already been successful once that year. So it's like, I got meat in the freezer. Like, what is this greed? So then I start going into this own like personal turmoil that my confidence went right through the roof. Then it's like, why am I out here? And I was like, I think I just had
Lucky
a
buck.
hippie into. Shout out to Mark Morris, like this pro skier, just incredible dude. A lead singer of this bluegrass band, Rapid Grass. Incredible.
Oh, I know them. Those guys are great.
Incredible.
Just saw him late this summer over at the Art
awesome
Center.
Human. And he's like, we were just talking about connecting with nature. And then I think I went out hunting like the next day or something, right?
Sure.
And even though my connection with nature is very different from his, or, you know, it was just that moment where like, I should just take this in and enjoy it. Like, I don't have to be, I'm being a part of it just by being there and being present.
Yeah. Well,
I was wishing I had my camera at that point.
Hunters love the animals just as much as they do the appreciation of a good, healthy shot and being able to harvest that. But they love it. You'll see often people even, I think I've even seen Cam, you know, he'll give that grace to and thanks to the ability to be able to get out there and get that shot and make a good, healthy, clean kill. That's what it's about. And being able to put that meat in your freezer and have that way to be able to do that. So you passing up on that doesn't mean that your hunting's over, right? It just means I saw something that day that helped me appreciate it in a different light. Still got close, still got to get that experience. You telling me about that is an experience that I won't even forget because I know that feeling.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But I don't think anybody could that's why I don't understand how people can criticize hunting or something if they've never done it.
No.
If you've done it, I'll listen to you all day long, criticize it. And you can tell me what's good and what's bad about it, or you can tell me what's all bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with that. But until you've put yourself in my shoes and experienced the things that I've experienced, I don't want to listen to you.
Right.
And you shouldn't have a say in what the fuck I do. You should mind your own business, is how I feel about it.
I agree.
But I think to bring it all back to full circle, you know, with Stephen Pressfield, it's the same sort of concept as it is with that confidence, with that archery shot, or being present in the moment and enjoying the journey, man. Like, if I was so hell-bent on this being the #1 podcast in the world, I wouldn't be enjoying these moments that I'm having in here.
No.
Like, this is what I enjoy. This is why I do it. Is like, we get to talk about all kinds of shit, and I figure stuff out in here. I figured stuff out about myself, you know?
Yeah. Well, otherwise you'd be worried about what you just said a minute ago. If that's going to be something that's going to deter, did I lose followers by what I said?
Yeah.
Well, that's just a little bit of self-critique. And you still, because you care. That's the only reason why you're doing that. But you're still doing it because you enjoy doing this, right?
Amen to that, man.
Yep. So,
dude, we haven't even, how far are we in, Derek? Hour 20.
All right.
Shit, we got to crack some drinks. I'm such a bad host. You want to take a pause? Let's take a break real quick and we'll come right back.
Okay.
If you're not checking out the Mountainside Podcast on YouTube, you absolutely should be. If you like the content that we create here and you want to help support the podcast, please take a moment, subscribe to us on YouTube, and hit that notification bell. I've been drinking too much water. It's always when I come back from elk camp.
Yeah. Thank you.
Or from elk hunting I'm in like, I have to like get back in track because you kind of lose everything. Like, I never drink enough water when I'm out there. I don't work out. I mean, granted, you're hiking, but it's just different. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. What do we got here?
Lalo. It's short for Eduardo, which I found out. Shout out to Ed Mayorga for giving us the history lesson on this. This is Don Julio's grandson.
I did not
started
know
his
that.
own tequila label. I don't know what happened to Don Julio or why I didn't take that over, but pretty cool
that is delicious.
story. And this is only, I think it's only 3 ingredients in this. Like, no preservatives, no other bullshit in here. But yeah, shout out to Lalo.
Look at
Lalo.
that.
Good shit, man. And it's good.
It is good.
Ah, it's really nice.
Hey, would you pass me a Jocko Go to go along with this?
Totally.
Dude, I think I've been yelling or something, man. Does my voice sound fucking hoarse today or something?
No.
Okay.
You want blue raspberry or?
Yeah, I'll do a blue raspberry. You want one of these too, Mike?
I'm gonna enjoy the true straight flavor
Yeah.
of some Lalo on the rocks, and I might maybe if I do a little bit of splash. If usually what I'll do with tequila is I'll drink it with like a tequila and soda.
Yeah. I think we got some soda water in there too. Don't we?
And seeing as we're talking about tequila, you guys need to help me out with this. I always talk
I just want
about
a
it.
little caffeine backer for this.
Oh, I had a it's probably not supposed to drink it, but I did have a Celsius a little earlier.
Oh, there you go.
I still like it. I like the non-carbonated ones because you can just jam it, and they've done well for themselves.
Yeah.
There's
no joke.
there's the world's just like tequila. There's hundreds of like fuel type of things like this. Thank you. But you just how do you know what to pick and choose from, right?
I know.
So-
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, so tequila. What is it about tequila? We metabolize it better than any other liquor. Come on, you guys, help me out with this.
I don't
There's
know.
science
What is the
behind
science?
this stuff.
Derek, you're gonna have to look at.
Clear liquors you can metabolize a little easier.
And it's supposedly the sugars from tequila, what there is in there is obviously it's natural, right? But there's a lot of other variables to this because if you're like me, I'm at that age where I made the mistake, like so many people, that did the classic Cuervo night, and you
That shit tequila.
you dry heaved. It was horrible, and you
Yeah.
swore you couldn't even smell tequila, right? And then you just stayed away from it. Tequila's evil. It's probably one of the number one liquors, if not the, in terms of one of the more appreciated liquors of all now. Because of people.
It's my go-to. It's the only thing I
amazing.
drink, and honestly, it's because I'm so in tune with how my body feels after doing certain things, and I think this is something that comes with age. Like you said, I'm getting to that age where it's like, I want to enjoy the finer things in life, and I don't want to be fucking hungover.
No, I don't
found
get
if I
hungover
drink
on it.
straight tequila,
Never.
I'm good to go.
Right.
You start drinking margaritas and all the margarita mixers, or even just vodka or something like that.
Yeah,
Man, it fucks with me.
Even a margarita, I'll keep as clean as I can. The classics. So fresh lime juice.
Yeah,
and,
hell yeah.
and fresh
Like
lime
they
juice
serve
and
'em in
tequila.
Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a Tajín thing now too. I kind of get a little of that Tajín on there. I like that. So here we go. Tequila. Natural sugar, agave nectar, whereas other spirits can be distilled with refined sugars that may be high in calories. So therein lies that. I guess what I'm trying to say is there for those who've gotten the bad experience with tequila, give it another shot. I think it has there's some type of
There's a different
caffeine
cognitive-
effect to it too.
Yeah, there's a different cognitive function with it too.
I'm not on a bad mood in tequila. What did I just? Does that make sense? No,
Yeah.
tequila. Oh, don't even. All right, check that out. So mezcal versus tequila. This is a good one because there is clearly a difference. Naturally, I think mezcal is. I call it the chipotle of tequila because it's got a smoky type of thing
it
to
does.
it. But I was just with the great former rodeo. Cody DeMoss from Louisiana, the hot sauce DeMoss 2 weekends ago, and he comes rolling in there is Cody DeMoss voice, and he goes, "This here's mezcal. This is what we're drinking tonight," and I enjoyed it a lot, and I've had it before.
What does Cody do? I'm not familiar.
Cody was a saddle bronc rider, 14-time
Okay.
national finals qualifier. And he and I get the honor of being able to hang out with him when he comes out and coaches at Survey Championship Rodeo's Ace High Rough Stock Academy. He's been a return coach on there. I even did a little reel on him. I'm getting ready to do another one too on the many looks of Cody, and it's going to be about 8 to a dozen pictures, and they all look the same. But it's just a little bit of a smirk on his face. And
Does he have an Instagram?
No, he is not
Okay.
a social media magnate. In fact, when I tag him, I think I just learned now I tag, I think it's his daughter on there or something to make sure that he sees the stuff.
Nice.
But he's a great all around guy who I've had the privilege of getting to know because I've ran into him at the last 3 or 4 schools or 5 schools I've done. And but he had mezcal a couple weeks ago, and we were getting into that stuff pretty good. So. What do you got going on there? Hey, back to
They found me somehow. There we
oh
go.
yeah, there it is.
I
So
just wanted to get this because there is one interesting thing about it.
thank you. I want to know this.
Technically, all tequila is mezcal. I learned that in a mezcal tasting,
Okay.
and that was one of the things that stood out to me.
All I know is I like it. It's good shit. All of it.
Well, that reminds me of the classic saying about horses. All pintos are paints, but not all paints are pintos.
Really?
Yeah, think about that one. I don't have the answer for you
Okay.
right now because I've already had a sip of tequila. Mezcal can be made from a wide variety of agave varieties in 9 Mexican states, best known for the smoky flavor. There's the smoky part that emerges when mezcal is made in the traditional way, roasting the agave in underground pits. So is that what makes mezcal? It's just smoked?
Yeah, it is definitely the process,
Okay.
right? But like all tequila is mezcal, but not all mezcal is tequila.
Wow.
Which is crazy because we have a shout out to Matt Cormier. He made us this.
Oh,
He's
yeah, the
a listener. It's a whiskey smoker. So you
Oh,
put this
those are
over your
great.
glass,
Yeah.
and I think we have some mesquite or somewhere around here, and a blowtorch, and you just like smoke out your whiskey.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had like those white oak smoked
Okay.
Manhattans and stuff.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. I can only do a couple of them, maybe at the most.
Yeah, it's definitely like if you're having one or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, but there is something to be said about that. That's really cool.
Yeah, those are cool, man.
And he was nice enough to put the mountainside on there. That's
Yeah,
great.
a little logo on there and
Yeah,
everything.
that's awesome.
Yeah, this
fucking
is
cool.
great.
It's a good gift.
This is
We
great.
got some asshole left a bunch of White Claw cans in here, so we have fruit flies everywhere.
wait. How does that
I don't know,
come
man.
to be? You
We
just
need one of those salt guns,
blame
like
it
a
on-
really small one.
Those are fun.
blame it on the White Claw. Is that the deal?
It was the White Claw for sure.
I was into that heavy when it
Were
came
you?
out. Well,
Yeah.
mango.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember it. It was always like there was a variety pack, but I think at least one of the ones that they made an individual package of was you could buy like a 12-pack of mango White Claw.
Really?
How it came to be the mango one, I don't know. But I think what really turned me on to it was the ranch water, and it was the one that you could get out of Texas. I can't remember the name of the company.
Topo Chico, right?
Well, no, Topo Chico came out with their own, but these guys were first. They were before
okay,
that.
cool.
And you can make your own ranch water. A lot of people do that now, but this stuff was fantastic.
What the
It
hell
was
is a ranch water? Is
the-
it like a seltzer? or-
Tequila soda lime.
yeah, and
Oh,
if
okay.
you look at it's probably in images if you just click on that or something, but the can's white with the black label,
That's not
and
what I meant.
it's probably been drowned out by now
dog
because
water,
there's
dude.
so many. There it is.
There
see
it
that?
is.
See that guy
Lone
right there?
River.
So that was Lone River. That was
Okay.
I
I've never had one.
I loved it, and it had to be the original, like it says right there. I don't need all the extra flavors. And then that's other one that says Carbach on there. That was the second one that I got into, but the main one was always that white and black can ranch water. And
They're out of Texas.
yeah,
because
and-
I really like the Topo Chico ones.
well, and shout out to my my friend Jimmy Lee, bullfighter Jimmy Lee. When he was out here and living out at the ranch out at Cervies, he's from Texas, lives there now with his wife and back in Texas. And if you go bullfighter or something like that, you'll see him in there. He brought up. He goes, Pintar, you got to try this. And he turned me onto that ranch water originally, and that's why I gravitated to that one anytime I could find it. Yep, there's
Man, I think that is the sexiest thing.
yeah, look at
in-
him. He's
in rodeo is the bullfighters, man. Like just like watching the bullfighters only
yeah.
is unbelievable what those guys do. Like having Blake in.
Blake is
And thank you, man, for
That was
that,
fun.
dude. Like us talking shit about Blake a little bit got him in here. He was like,
He knew
he
he
was one of
needed to
those
get in
guys.
here.
Like I was like, I had to apologize to him right out of the gate. Like, hey, sorry for making fun of your hair.
yeah, and I don't think I've had the privilege of working with Blake,
Yeah.
but it certainly is a driving force behind me. Hopefully, being able to collaborate with him down the road. I started doing that a lot. More so with any rodeo now that I'm at. Again, I'm comfortable shooting in the arena, but sticking around sometimes when that bull is doing what it's doing, I tended to scurry away a little quicker than I wanted to because I also want to get those shots of the bullfighters. When you're at a place like Cheyenne and you're shooting in the pit and you got a lens that reaches out and across the arena and touches that, you get your Dusty Tucknesses and Cody Websters and all that stuff because you don't have to move. You can just stay in the arena, you're on your feet. And so I've been getting better at trying to stick around a little more, kind of get my balls out of my purse, so to say, and hopefully not get ran over.
Would you say get your balls out of your purse?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much it. Look at Jimmy Lee. He was one of the first guys that kind of helped me go. He'd be like, hey, Pintar, just stick around a little bit. This bull does this, and when you get to know these guys, they'll tell you what that bull typically will do, even after that rider's bucked off. And so I tried my best to get a lot of shots on him, and I still haven't gotten it always dialed in, but I get lucky every now and then and try to share that with these guys because they are so much an integral part of making
it's so
saving
rock and
lives.
roll, man. I think it's more rock and roll than, and the bull riders are going to hate me for this, but I think it's more rock and roll than like the bull riding, man. Those guys are out there for the entirety of it.
Yeah.
They're showmen. And I mean, I don't think that people truly understand. Well, this just goes back to the same thing I keep saying, like, until you walk in their shoes, what these guys are actually doing.
Oh, yeah.
I think going to a rodeo is just a spectator. Like, you can kind of get a little glimpse of it, but man,
it's neat in the arena.
It is so cool. Like, it is very rock and roll, man. Like, high level.
There's a reason why these guys, when they get done and they know they may have very well saved a life right then and there. There's a reason why they're fist pumping or high fiving each other because they did a great job. Okay, on to the next. We got 15 more riders here. Blake brought it up. He said, and I didn't really think about it as much until he brought it up in your talk with him. He goes, I'm in the arena for every damn bull that comes out here and then some. And most of these guys who are working for that stock contractor, their job's not even close to being over. A lot of times they're doing the grunt work too. They're getting loaded, they're loading up the stock and they're going down the road with it and they're managing it and taking care of it to help the stock contractor. I know it is that case for some of them. But the point is like Blake, again, he brought that up. He goes, I'm in the arena for every one of these bulls. I got to bring my A game, not just for 8 seconds and hope I stay on like a bull rider will. And God bless the bull riders. We wouldn't have bullfighters without them. But those guys have to catch every ride. And they have to know not only that perhaps how a certain rider rides, but if they're going to get hung up on a certain side of that bull, how do I get over there? Or how do I know that my partner, my other counterpart has got that covered? And how do I make sure that I'm right there one step ahead or behind to make sure that I'm saving these lives and not letting down my team?
Those guys are so badass. Like Blake telling that story, he has a highlight reel where this bull just gets him like up against the fence or the chutes. And picks him up by his jaw, and I think they saw the bull's horns off a little bit, right? So they
have to be
sharp.
A diameter at the tip. They can't be like that old Bugs Bunny thing where he's taking a pool chalk and sharpening it, or like
dude, you got to pull that up. That is, I haven't seen that. Dude, I am a Looney Tunes freak. I love it. Remember that? He's like, so good. I gotta show my kids these, man, because they'll laugh their asses off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, and then the bulls in Spain, they keep their points and their tips. I think they should.
Have you ever been to one of those?
No, we talked about that, and you guys even talked about it too.
Oh my
because
God,
that's another thing that I have no business interfering with their culture.
Dude.
I would love to, and again, I don't. We've done this before, and you guys even talked about it. I think you and Blake brought it up too. It's an amazing deal, and it's their culture. I get scolded sometimes from some PETA people or animal lovers, and I try my best to just constructively respond and say, hey,
then we should do it on this platform. You just gave me another On the Mountainside series. Me and Mike Pintar go to Spain to shoot a bullfight, a legitimate one.
And we bring PETA with us.
And we bring Blake and Dusty Tuckness.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh, those guys.
Put them in Matadorian.
Those bulls are the real deal. But I respect what they do with that animal and their love for it. And Matadors are
you know what's crazy about that?
What's that?
I'm sorry, I just totally interrupted
But
you.
no,
I'm being a
not at
bad
all. No,
podcast
all I
host.
wanted to say was just that what they're doing is what they're doing, and what we're doing is what we're doing. And again, it comes back to what we talked about earlier. Try to understand the side of it. You don't have to agree with it. I could not kill a bull that way, an animal, but that is tradition to them. And all right,
And it has been for thousands
right,
of years, right?
yeah, as far as I know,
Like longer than gladiators were around,
Right.
like Roman gladiators. They were fighting bulls in Spain, I think.
Yeah.
And Derek, you might have to look this up. Like, what's the
there he
history?
is. There he is.
I know.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I can see it. There he is.
That's so
That
badass.
is the greatest, man. Look at those horns. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
So you can't have that. Look at that.
Yeah, don't let me forget.
Let's just end the podcast now and spend the rest of the night with tequila watching Bugs
Yeah.
Bunny. Oh, yeah, there it is, man. Elephant. Yeah, it just.
Yeah, you got to put a pin in this. We're watching the whole thing.
I
when
remember
is
this
over.
where he just sits there and he spits them all
Dude, he's
out.
got a gun up his ass right now, and he's shooting bullets out of
Look
his
at the
horns.
horns.
This is what I grew up on, man. I think
I
that this is why I
love
like to
this
destroy stuff.
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
this and Wile E. Coyote.
Did you ever feel bad for the coyote
Nah,
that he couldn't get the Roadrunner?
nah.
Nah, you just fell in love with the Roadrunner, honestly.
Ah,
You're like,
meep.
good. I'm glad he got away.
No, I don't know. Yeah,
This was Instagram for us when we were kids, man. Like now,
Right.
people are just watching people die.
yeah.
You know, but at least this was. I don't know, man. I think this inspired so many people. Like I would imagine this has some influence on like South Park and like you
It's
know.
got
yeah.
to. It's got to. It's
It has to,
amazing.
right? All right, you got to shut this
All
off.
right, yeah, because we're gonna be on that all night.
Okay, so sorry, where the hell were we?
You talk
Oh,
about
the end.
influence on South Park. So you brought up something earlier, and again, I'm bringing up Rogan again because I listen to him a lot. But did you see where they did the thing the other day where they said, "Let's talk about something," and let's just pick an odd off-color subject that we probably haven't even talked about. I can't remember what it was they were doing, but they were doing this to see who's listening. Are these devices really listening?
yeah.
And they said, all right, look, they waited to the end of the podcast and nothing had come up yet, but they said, let's give it another day or a half a day. These things are listening. They really are.
This is a rule of mine. I don't pick up my phone, but let's do it right now. Because whenever I go to Google, I've noticed like they've been pretty on point.
Bugs Bunny will be on there tomorrow.
Seriously, though.
Probably.
Some kind of.
So when I open Google, what does that post say right there?
Wolves, effects of the apex
Wow.
predator, and you're not even. There's nothing in search. It just came up that way.
Wow, and that was one of the big things where it was like,
That's
don't even
it's-
talk about the wolves.
And look at the size of that deer.
It's a red stag, isn't it? That's wild, dude.
Put that. Make sure they get that. See, these guys are listening.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So, anyways, here's my Google feed.
Yep.
Don't look at my browser history. But this is just from today, right? And there's some UFC, Khalil Roundtree.
And you can say, for the record, it's not like you were searching for that earlier
service
today.
set for Miss Teen Rodeo. That's horrible, man. See, look, it's distracting us right now. Like,
What happened? Oh,
Google is
that
obviously
sucks.
listening,
Yeah,
right?
and that's an
some
unfortunate
Navy,
circumstance.
throw some Navy SEALs in there.
Yep.
You've talked about Navy SEALs today.
Oh, look,
too.
there's an icon. They want me to buy the new D850. That's an old ass camera.
So
dude.
does this go back to being a necessary evil for those of us? Like we want it started with the whole, do we want Big Brother? Do we want to feel safer where we are and where we live?
What it comes down to is this is all driven by money.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody's
So
banking.
I
on this.
guarantee if I click on this whatever about wolves, it's going to take me to some other website. There's probably an advertisement to get you to buy some sort of hunting camo.
Right.
Right? It's all it's all smoke and mirrors. Everything's trying to distract you, including our YouTube channel, right? Like as soon as you click that monetization button, I have no say in what ads they put up there. So they could be putting up ads that say vote yes on Proposition 127, which I don't believe in. I might want you to vote no, but they might be posting ads there, right? Who knows?
That's a really interesting point. Because that's not something that's even on
I
brand for
guarantee you that is happening. I don't know that personally, but I guarantee you that's happening. Maybe not for Proposition 127, right? Because Proposition 127 in the state of Colorado,
Yeah.
there is 126 propositions that you have to check boxes on before you even get to that proposition. That's how many fucking issues
They're
we
just
have.
drowning you in it.
Right.
We got issues, all right. We got
So you
fucking
can't tell
issues
me
up
in the
the-
presidential, race or debate or whatever, they're probably playing both sides of the fence. If it's a super liberal thing, they're probably keyholing advertisements in there to go against that. And that's the craziest thing is I think that that's something that they shouldn't allow you to advertise on YouTube, but I would guarantee in their revenue source, like
It wouldn't
let's look up
exist.
how much of the revenue source for YouTube advertisements are political.
YouTube can't exist without advertising. None of this
Sure
can
they
exist without
They're
advertising.
owned by Google, man. They can exist.
Well, right, but
they're
Google's all.
But it's all about money, right? So to
Right.
bring it back to that, it's
They're listening,
all
you
about
guys.
money. Yeah.
They're listening.
Fueled by, what was the last part?
I was just wondering how much of YouTube's ad revenue is driven by political
Yeah,
advertising.
political.
Well, and especially at the high point right now,
Yeah.
right? We come November when this is all
I don't even know if you
decided,
could find this information, but
Well, you probably have to use a different search engine.
yeah, probably other than Google.
Well.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I always resort back to Google. Because it's the best search engine out there in terms of I guess expediting your search.
Let me ask you
as long
this.
as your search isn't too specific.
How much shit have you bought off of Instagram? Like, have you run across something where you're like, fuck, I got to have that? Or that's a great, like, dude, there's some really innovative stuff on there that's like, fuck, man.
Here's my new favorite thing.
Uh-huh.
Shout out to, oh my gosh, the owner of Flated. Do you know what Flated is?
No.
Okay, so he and whoever his partners, or if he did it solo, great, whatever. I can't remember all the details, but I actually had a conversation with him, just direct messaging a couple weeks ago. He created like a topper for your pickup truck, but it's inflatable, but it's durable. You can drive a tractor over this son of a gun, but one person can inflate it, lift it up, put it on their vehicle. And then he's also got an inflatable bed.
Does it look
that's
badass
supported-
or does it look like an inflatable?
It'll look good on my
Does it
truck
look like
because
a raft?
well, no, but it's like rafting material.
Yeah,
it's
dude.
super
So you
solid.
know how they
though.
started making those paddle boards? Is how
I own a from Steamboat, the Hala.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I have a Hala. That thing's made to do like class 4s or 5s or whatever, and I've taken it out on the
Dude,
lake
you can
over
put
here.
those things you could put those on sawhorses. I
Yeah.
could stand on it and it's that rigid.
It is.
But it's all about the military technology that they use. They used it from making the Zodiacs. Mm-hmm. You know about those Zodiacs that they inflate? They
I
just,
hope
like-
that mine was made when they were using that material. It looks like a raft. Like it's this.
Oh, dude, they're badass. You can run them over rocks,
Yeah.
like all kinds of stuff, but they're just super rigid.
Well, and it's
there's
not-
like this webbing inside of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so my raft is not fast, right? But it's meant to go down rivers, to take on rapids, and that appealed to me.
Wild,
That
man.
appealed to me.
Stand up paddle surfing on a river.
Oh, they do it all the time. Hala,
Yeah.
and they're amazing. And I love the fact that it was made out here in our backyard. So I was hook, line, and sinker sold. Plus, it was backpackable. It's a big case. You wouldn't be able to go. I couldn't go more than a
They're
mile
the
in
best,
that
man.
thing.
That's the best feeling is stand up paddleboarding on
Yeah.
a lake or something, man. Like,
Well, and
fucking
I
awesome.
think their patented deal, if not, I think they're one of the only people, if not the only, they make a collapsible fin too. So if I hit rocks, that fin goes up into the board.
oh, that's
Even in an
super
inflatable board.
badass.
So it springs back up in there. And so that's not going to throw you off if you go over rocks.
So how do
and
you
all that.
redeploy the fin?
It springs down. It just pops right back down.
No way.
Yeah, so if I were to flip my board over and stand on it with my foot and then I take my foot off of it, it just pops right back up.
They're a Colorado company?
Yeah, it's called Hala, Hala.
Let's look these guys up, man.
Oh boy, man, are we just, I better have a Hala board landed at my step next week.
That's fucking
These guys are
awesome.
great. And
Because that's the worst thing about like those paddle
Yep.
boards is breaking your fin, especially if you have a hard board.
Right.
Yeah.
I have the Colorado, one of the original Colorados, and this is what it was. I obsessed over it. They're not cheap, as they probably shouldn't be, because you want something that's going to last a lifetime.
How much does it weigh in the backpack? You think? Like 40
I told
pounds?
you. Well, I
the pump and
it's
everything?
gotta be more than that. We could probably look it up too. But the thing is it's I could go maybe a mile, well, probably more, right? But it's a wheeled case and
okay.
But with the backpack straps on it.
Uh-huh.
It's come in handy though. A couple times I've actually packed in with mine, and it's stable. This thing's big and it's stable. There you go. The stomp box, they call it. There you go.
That is so badass, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that is there. And I'm sure the technology is even better than when I bought mine, because I bought mine in 2018.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
I can't believe I haven't heard of these guys.
Oh.
Isn't there a beer that's the same, like a Holla beer or something like that? Doesn't it have like a...
Holla bread.
Okay. Yeah. Holla good.
yeah, holla at you. So
Holla at your boy.
yeah. So, but they're cool, and this is the thing that I love. I'm fascinated by people who come up with these ideas and they run with it and they go with it. We were just, talking about the bolo ties,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. That stuff's amazing. So yeah. So anyway, so that's pretty cool stuff. And the first time, funny story, I got back here, I moved. So when I left Arizona and came back here and had an opportunity to work here, and I'm in Evergreen and I see the lake and it's hot and it's summer, and I got to go out and get a paddleboard. And then I started going, do I want just a full, complete, hard-sided board or whatever they call it, a fixed board or whatever. And I go, no, I want something packable. And who are these Holla guys? And I go, man, that thing's like $1,200. But I know that you get what you pay for in a lot of industries. And this was definitely that product that I said, I'm going to get what I pay for with this. But I was like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack when he goes, load me up with that, load me up with this, give me that, I'll take that, give me 3 of these, give me that, and oh, that hat, it looks good on you. I even had the hat too. And I show up on Evergreen Lake right over my shoulder over here, and I've got an ankle strap on. I've got this NRS raft guided vest. The only thing I was missing was I didn't have the knife that you can pull out to cut stuff away.
Those
like
knives are badass with no
like
point
those
on 'em.
rafter knives,
Yeah.
those guide knives. But
Yeah.
I had all this shit on, and I get out there and I start paddling, and I'm going, I think this is a little overkill here. I mean,
There's a chick in a bikini with just a paddle, and that's it.
Yeah. And a little rule of thumb I learned right after that was you are required to have some type of life preservation unit or device on you. And a lot of times they stick you with this vest, but NRS makes this really cool, like almost like a fanny pack sort of deal. And all you do is just pull that and activate that. So then
NRS is a badass company.
they're
man.
cool.
Their water shoes and stuff, like their raft shoes, are
All their
the
stuff.
fucking best, man.
But just, you got to pay to play in this state, right?
Yeah,
know?
you do.
I mean, I love golf too.
Paddle's
But
so awesome, man. That's something I didn't do enough this summer.
Hey, speaking of Evergreen Lake, October 20th, they're doing the last paddle of the year.
Okay,
And they're doing it themed Witches and Warlocks float.
okay.
And from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., you can go out
Man,
there and
It doesn't.
get your last paddle.
It doesn't do it for me, man. Evergreen Lake and
it like
It'll be a
scares
fun
me.
family.
I'm a
family
local. I
adventure,
love
you
it.
know?
I used to have a rope swing into that lake, so I'm
Did
like
you really?
totally disheartened. I grew up like on the lake,
Yeah.
less than a quarter of a mile from the studio right now. And we used to have a rope swing. We used to be able to take our own like watercraft out there. Not anything with an engine, I don't think was
No.
allowed. Maybe.
Can you
It was
imagine
just
being able to
different,
water
man.
ski on that sucker? Would that be
You
hilarious?
can't even swim in that motherfucker.
No, you
man.
can't.
There's too
If
many
you fall
people.
off your raft,
And to go paddleboarding there on a Saturday,
oh, forget it. You can
can
walk
throw-
across the lake
yeah,
from paddleboard to
that's my new
paddleboard.
one. I was saying
I'm
you
gonna go
could
get a
throw-
beer and just walk across
You could throw a
paddleboard.
rock and you'd have a better chance of hitting a paddleboarder than you can and that's not paddleboarding to me. So
Yeah.
where I started paddleboarding is
that's the
when
deal.
I moved to Hermosa Beach from Colorado, being a mountain born raised kid with the lake, right?
Yeah.
I moved out there and I had this grandiose idea that I wanted to surf, right? I thought surfing was cool. Boy, was that a learning lesson. Holy shit, man. There is there is a steep learning curve
Yeah.
to just getting up and standing on a board and riding a wave straight.
Yeah.
Is a feat. And I did it for like 7 or 8 years, like relentlessly, like never any good at it. Got made fun of. Got in a couple fist fights. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of shit, right? Like it's a territorial thing. Like if you don't know what you're doing or where you're from, or
Yeah.
like that shit is real, man.
What you want, this is kind of embarrassing, but my uncle is Kelly Slater.
What?
No, I'm fucking with you. I tried surfing though, and it is rough, man. I got my ass kicked.
I became
Mouthful
part of that
sand.
like punk rock culture out there, right? Because I was there like 7 or 8 years in.
You and the Chili Peppers?
No.
Okay.
Surfing. I toured with them.
Oh.
And literally for a fat guy to sit on his board, you're sitting in Pacific water that is never warm and you're nipple deep, dude. You're not out there like sitting on a surfboard like Anthony Kiedis. Like not even real surfers do that because it's all about you want the board just to be buoyant enough. It's like that fine balance of like, oh God, what would it be equivalent to? Oh, okay, like racing, right?
Right.
So you shave all the weight that you can off the cart. Seatbelt, don't need that.
Yeah.
Airbags, don't need that. We're racing, right? Like it's all about weight and that sort of thing. So like even those pro surfers are still, belly button deep at least on their boards.
Yeah, and you know what the other problem with that is? There's shocks in the
Yeah,
water.
man.
That stuff scares me. I get my ass kicked. I got stung by a stingray in Coronado. I ate sand and got beat up at Huntington Beach. I just forget it. Hey, what was Flea and Katie's name, or their cameo names in Point Break in the original movie? It's like War Child and something else, man. You just made me think of that. Those guys were the best.
Now we're gonna have to.
We got more tabs open. Yeah, we're gonna. I just love those guys, man, and they were also in The Chase too.
That was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're well, that's War Child, but that's not. He's Tone, Anthony.
Tone. Yeah.
And then what was Flea's character? He was in there too, wasn't he?
Yeah, Flea was in it.
I thought he was. Or at least I know he's in The Chase with Charlie Sheen. I know that Flea's in that one. But those guys, they do amazing. There's funny and cool cameos.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe not. Maybe Flea wasn't in there. I know Anthony was though. But
it's a great movie.
Yep. So yeah. So
anyways, I got into stand up paddleboarding because I was making fun of those old guys. I was like, because they would just come riding in with like, their stand-up paddle, and this is back before it got like popular in like mountain towns and stuff.
Right, but they're cruising.
Oh man, and they're just ripping in, and they were always having like the best time. But it was always these old dudes that decided that they didn't want to sit in that freezing ass water.
Yeah.
And the moment that I hung up the longboard and went for stand-up paddle, I started doing these. Dude, we did so much badass shit in the ocean. So for me to go into Evergreen Lake. It's really, really hard, man.
It's too stagnant for me. I need motion, and I'll go out there just to hang out. But
lakes
I agree.
are cool.
Yeah.
Lakes
so
are awesome.
So I did a lot of work when I was in the animal health industry in Del Mar, and Del Mar was great because for those who have been around the racetrack industry, we would go out there and I would be able to knock out a dozen sales calls per se on the same property, calling on horse veterinarians before the sun was practically up.
Yeah.
And it was great business because you could be done other than going over to the horse park across the other end of the highway and doing some sales calls there, but you could be done early.
Vista Del Mar is my favorite place to watch a horse race.
I love it. But just north of that was Solana Beach, which a lot of people, I think they called it Pill Beach, but that was where I would try to go out and try to learn how to.
Yeah.
And
then you got
real
Oceanside is right there too.
Oceanside's right there. What is that? Just to the north of it too. The beautiful scene. It all of a sudden the ocean just opens up right there, and then and then there's a bunch of watering holes and fish.
Are you thinking
bars.
of La Jolla? Or?
No, that would be south of it.
Yeah.
This would be north of Solana Beach.
Seal Beach.
I think so. There's a name of it though. I'll think it's just the beach north of Del Mar.
Pull up the map, Derek.
Oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
So no, but it was
You're
always
earning
so
your money
pretty.
tonight, dude.
And you'd see people out there surfing, and those who know how to surf know what to look for and all that. I didn't, but I would try it out, and that part was fun. And again, the ocean to me is something that I didn't grow up in, and so it scares the shit out of me. There's a lot of stuff in that water. There's sharks in that water. So so go north of Del Mar. So if you move that map down, or if you can, there we go. So Solana Beach. Oh, Carlsbad, Encinitas. You'd have to zoom in because it's going to be right around Encinitas. It's that little. It's almost like a little
San Clemente.
Yeah, I just want to know what the name of the beach was. So there's Solana, Cardiff. I love that.
Yeah,
that whole
too.
area there in Cardiff was so cool. I think it's called Cardiff by the Sea, or Cardiff or whatever. That whole area there is just so pretty and so neat. Because I'd go up to Encinitas, and there were great little restaurants where you could just get lunch and just do whatever. And I told myself when I was traveling, there it is. Yep, that's that view right there. Drove by that thing hundreds of times when I was out there. And I say that because I would go out there. I didn't live there, but I would have to work out there. And I said, don't ever take it for granted, because if you don't have this job tomorrow, make the most of it, because it gave me an opportunity to be able to go see some cool stuff. And I know that was just Del Mar, but I got to go all over the place.
Fuck yeah.
It was fun.
Man, I love San Diego. You can say what you will about California, but that whole area, man, basically from the South Bay of LA down is just incredible, man.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And I think the biggest thing that I love about San Diego, have you been to Coronado?
Yeah. Well, I told you I got stung by a stingray there.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
That's where you got stung?
Yeah, right in my left arch of my foot.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Just the military presence, though.
That's-
Because you have Miramar's
God,
right there.
love
Like,
that.
that's kind of offset in the
Yeah.
desert. Like, if you've ever been out there, I did a USO gig at Miramar.
Did you really?
On Miramar base.
Who was the artist that were there?
Fuck, I don't even remember. I think it was Divas. It was something. It was a
I was hoping you were going to say like Metallica or
No,
something.
man. It was some bullshit. It was like,
Some bull.
it was a TV thing. It was for VH1.
Okay.
Maybe look it up. I think it was like Divas Salute the Troops or some shit. It was like, it was all the girls from Moulin Rouge or whatever. It was like Christina Aguilera.
Well, that's cool.
And
They clean up nice.
might have been Britney Spears or some shit. VH1, Divas Salute the Troops, 2010. Now I'm dating myself.
Is this when you were there?
Fuck. Oh, yeah. Paris Hilton was up there.
Yes.
So see if there's any video of this. I built the stage and like all the spotlight towers.
Wait.
and was like,
There's the cast. I got to see this. Look, Kathy Griffin. Remember when she was on Seinfeld a bunch?
Michael Strahan was there. Shit.
Marissa Miller.
Katy Perry. Damn, Marissa Miller looking good. Oh, yeah, the Wilsons.
Oh, boy.
Jeffrey Ross. That dude's funny.
Yeah, I did a bunch of cool shit in LA. This was right when my daughter was being born, so I left rock and roll touring and started doing these huge like MTV Movie Awards. We used to do the Spike Scream Awards.
What was that?
Oh my God. Pull up Spike Scream Awards, dude.
Those.
It was like the horror movie awards
No
show.
way.
And they would go all out, man. They spent so much fucking money on this. I watched a girl get burned at the stake, and it was a pyro stunt. And they were like, yeah, look up Spike Scream Awards.
Are you kidding me?
Dude, it was wild. I had
You can
a
only
hard
be
time
in those like
watching it.
Nomex suits for
Look at
so
this.
long.
This is the Gibson Theater. We built the cityscape over it.
Is that,
look up the girl?
uh,
That's Holly Berry.
That is Halle Berry. Yeah. She is stood the test of time, so to say.
Oh my God, dude.
She's such a I don't know her whole history. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But looks wise she's definitely stood the test of time. And you probably got the money to do so, but maybe she doesn't need that. I don't know. Shout out to you. You're a really cool gal. I
Man, I don't know when this was, but this girl literally got burned alive at a stake. Like she came out in like that burn gel, and I think she was in a bikini.
She
might have
lived,
been a
though,
skin
right?
suit.
She lived.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just.
But her safe word or something, right? Like it was a safe word thing with the pyro guys. Whenever you were burning somebody, like on Metallica, they used to do it. They used to have a burning guy run across the stage at the beginning of their show.
I heard about that. Yeah.
And I know the pyro dude that was the actual burning guy. And if you were truly on fire, you had like a safe word, just like you would in the bedroom if if you're doing something super extreme, right? Right? You know that means stop, right?
Right.
So it's the same sort of thing in pyro. So this girl, I don't know what it was, I don't remember, but she would literally be burning and just be screaming in agony and pain, and you're watching this.
But the screaming
Fully
and
on
agony
fire.
and the pain is the act.
It's the act.
But you still have to
how
have
do
a
you
safe
know,
word.
Yeah. How do you know? To me, I was like, okay, what is the safe thing? To be calm? Because how do you know? What if she is really like burning? It fucked with me so
I want to know
hard,
how the
man.
heck she got into that. You always wonder how people find what they do, right? What they end up doing.
Mm-hmm.
But damn it, that is amazing. Like she would be a stunt woman then too, probably.
Oh, this girl was a bombshell too, like a 10,
Yeah.
a model. Like, or they found her at a really exotic strip club. I don't know, man.
Wow.
But she would put on this burn gel and go out there and burn herself. And she had to do it like, you have to do all this rehearsing before the actual show because it's a live
and,
television
yeah,
show.
and how else do you rehearse?
So she probably
you
did it
do
like
the whole
fucking
deal.
10 times. One day she did it 3 times in a day.
God, I hope that
And I was
for
front
her,
row and center every time. Like, this is fucking amazing.
for her sake, and anybody else who has to do what she does or apply that to her, especially if she's not even in a Nomex suit or whatever those suits are that they wear, that those chemicals haven't seeped into her and then it's going to destroy her life, right? I just hope because it's still chemical,
Yeah.
right? It's not like you go, oh, don't worry, it's organic. Yeah, it's all natural. No, none of that shit.
No, man, all those guys.
for the
I've known a
for
lot of them.
entertainment, right?
Man, I love pyrotechnics. Fucking badass. One of the coolest things. But that
Who
is
doesn't love fire?
man, that is not a good job, man.
Yeah.
That is not a good job as a rock and roll touring guy.
You know who loves fire? Firemen
Yeah.
and firewomen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude, we're so lucky, man. Especially wildland firefighters.
here's a little trick.
They really love it.
If you have a house on fire in your neighborhood, don't put it out before the firemen get there because they're going to be pissed that you took them away from what they love doing best. True story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a fire in your house?
Well, when I lived in Fort Collins,
Okay.
it was like one of those Sunday mornings, Bloody Marys already going, playing cribbage, smoking cigars. And I went to take a couple beer bottles out from my late great friend Rick Tenuta's house. And he was a former fireman. His son's a fireman now for Poudre Valley. And I go out to take these beer bottles out to the trash can through the garage, and I lived on a cul-de-sac kind of thing. And I go running back into the house. I go, man, I'm like, you guys, the house across the street is on fire. I said, the house across the street is on fire. And we already got a little buzz on it. It's a Sunday sort of just nice. Church is already knocked out if you go to that stuff and all that. And I'm going, now I can just have fun. And they go, okay, great. And he goes, and Rick, I'll never forget looking back and I see him he has like one of these little mini fire extinguishers, and I just saw him drop it. He goes, we're going to need more than that. And the whole side of this house was on fire. And I had a garden hose in my front yard connected to the house. And I knew I had 3 houses to get to the house that was on fire. And I said, get this hose line down to me. like I'm like, come on, let's go. And we still make fun of it because I'm like, there's kinks in my hose. There's kinks in my hose and all that. And I finally got it out. And once I knew we had it under control, it was great because this thing was smoldering when the fire department came around the turn. And they just looked at us like, you sons of bitches. We have nothing else to do today. And here's an actual structure fire, which is what we live for. You guys, you
The
took it away.
short time that I lived in Texas, that is the one thing I appreciated is people took care of their fucking own.
Yeah.
Like I lived in this really nice neighborhood outside of Dallas, and it was all like there 2 houses down was a Dallas gang unit, like undercover cop. It was super cool. He always had Miller Lite and was always like, he was like, come down to the garage and drink. He was into extracurricular activities too. I want to incriminate him. I won't even mention his name, but he was super awesome. I think he was like on
Probably
the SWAT
much
team
needed
and shit.
extracurricular when you go through what
Yeah.
those guys do. Yeah.
Fuck, but we also had firemen that lived like on the street.
Yeah.
And they had 100-foot rolled up fire hose in their garage, like ready to go to run down to the fire hydrant and the tool to take the thing off.
Hell yeah.
And let's go.
Yeah.
We're going to charge this line.
Well, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
Like
it's
everybody
I
should
never
have
felt
this, but
safer, man.
but here's the thing: everybody should have something like that,
Yeah.
or at least be prepared. But then
Nobody's
you take,
coming
but
when
then
you
you
call
put
the
people
police,
out of
dude.
work.
Yeah.
right.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Even when you do call them,
Yeah.
especially in a community like this, if there's elk in the road or one little traffic jam, dude, you're going to die a cardiac arrest before
Yeah, you're just
the volunteer firefighter
oh,
shows
we
up.
need to sit around and observe them. No,
Yeah.
just go through them nice and slow. They're intelligent animals. They see vehicles every day. They're on the side of the road eating grass because there's no grass in the road. It doesn't mean they're just going to jump in the road because you're driving by.
Right.
I got news for you. They ain't going to frickin' move. Slow down, respect them. But damn it, you don't have to hit the brakes and jam on there and then
Yeah.
flash the brights at every single person that goes by. Hey, there's animals there. I know that I live here. Thank
yeah.
you. Appreciate it, but I don't need 100 flashes to let
Especially
me.
when it's night and your eyes are bad and you
Yeah.
got fucking cataracts and shit.
That's when I appreciate
Yeah.
it, right? Hey, at least it gives me something to look for.
Especially on these newer vehicles, when it's somebody that is like older that has a newer vehicle. Like we know a couple of these guys, dude. There's a few of these like
Yeah.
old veterans running around in brand new pickups, and those headlights are super bright when they're on bright, man. Like they
They're
are.
bad.
I mean, even when headlights are on dim, like I drive older vehicles, so
My
they just,
timer
like-
on my brights is really, really responsive.
You have a timer?
Well,
Does it do
I
it
have not the
automatically,
timer,
or-
the automatic bright on and off deal. I had a vehicle like that originally
Dude,
when
I've
they
never
first
had
came
one
out with that
the auto-
technology.
Well, I guess my Cadillac did.
Yeah, early technology wasn't fast enough, so you're still blinding somebody.
Yeah.
Mine now even will switch off if it reflects off of a sign, because it's that sensitive, which is what I want.
Yeah.
because those brights are very bright.
Especially, I don't think the car companies have it figured out when you live in the mountains. Like everything is meant to be like, it's like archery. It's all, everybody goes to an even plane and stands on a polished concrete and shoots.
Yeah.
But when you're going over hills, man, those lights, the way that they're focused to
Yeah.
hit the ground, fuck,
Yeah.
man, they blind the fuck out of you if you're going
Oh, I can
uphill.
see
Yeah.
everything in your vehicle half
Yeah.
the time. It's just.
I'm like seeing stars, dude. Like I got
Yeah.
real issues with that.
Well, it's taught me to really back off and just sort of try to, you should anyway, day or night, respect distance. But I'm guilty sometimes, and it's probably not a good idea when you have your name on your vehicle. There's been a few
A little bit of
things.
branding. Yeah.
I've waited for that time where somebody goes, "Hey, asshole, I was the guy that
We
you
should
cut
just put your
off."
phone number back if your phone number's not there.
Well,
like,
they can-
how's my driving? Get one of those stickers.
Right, yeah. What is that? How's my driving? 1-800 eat shit. Eat shit, you stupid mother.
It takes them
Anyway.
to a spam call.
Right.
That's awesome.
Exactly. You're exactly.
Fuck, Mike. We are a little over 2 hours in.
Yeah, let's get this.
Let's wrap this up. But before we go, we didn't even dive into what you're doing and what you got going on.
Okay.
But if you're super interested in Western culture, I highly encourage you to go check out Michael Pintar. Is it michaelpintar.art?
Well, that is my art website. So
Yeah, go
So
there
if you just
and
Google
fucking-
Michael Pintar anyway, you're going to find this page. And then this page that you guys kindly put up is where athletes, and it'll also direct you to my art page. But this is where people go to find rodeos if they competed in them. I didn't get after it very hard this year, and I really do hope to. It's kind of like that last second effort, just going, hey, I need to either decide I'm in 100%, or I'm going to continue to do it like I'm doing and just get my half a dozen rodeos or so in every year. But thanks to the encouragement of people like you guys and people that see something in there, it's my driving force. It's what keeps me out there, going out there and trying to actually not only get the photos for what they are for the rodeo sake, but also the art side of it. And I'm flattered. Somebody told me a long time ago that don't be surprised if you see people try to duplicate a little bit of what you try to do. And I've done the same of other artists as well. Guilty as charged there because it's a compliment to you. to those who've inspired me. But I'm seeing a lot of that now, where I do a lot of cropped images. The one that just went up today.
I want you to come over and give me a lesson, honestly, so I can take your style and put
Every
it
one of
towards
those are
my
cropped.
yeah
You know?
to my wildlife photography.
That would be fun.
That'd be super rad.
It's what I just did with that elk picture the other day. I said they don't need the legs in this one because I missed them anyway, and there was a guardrail in the way. So, but and then you go back to something like, for example, that one in the middle from Westcliff this summer. That's still the full ride.
Oh, Westcliff is. Oh,
Isn't that a
I'm
neat
not even
town?
going to say it. Don't even
neat
bring
town.
it up. Stop talking about it.
Right. You still got to have the full image in there because that in true is the essence too. But the cropped image, the artistic image, call it what you want. But thank you. This is one of those things
It's incredible, man. Like I highly encourage you follow Mike #1 on Instagram. It's Pintography.
Yeah, Pintargraphy. It's a pun on my last name.
Yep. Or if you search Michael Pintar, I think it comes up. And
It better.
I mean, 25,000 followers is no fucking.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. That's how many people think that your art is.
I
worth
just need to
something,
show
man.
a little more leg.
Yeah.
That'll
You
climb.
start taking some photos. My buddy Chad Martell,
Yeah.
that hand me down. Oh man, shout out. He hand me down so many awesome gigs to me as a photographer, but he shoots nothing but heavy metal bands, professional surfing, professional freestyle motocross,
I know,
or playmates. That's it. He's like, fuck everything else.
And not
he is the
necessarily
man,
in that
dude,
order?
And there, people are fighting over him,
Yeah.
including Playboy.
How cool
So
is
like,
that?
I think it's just like, know that you're a professional and fucking
Own
you are, Mike, man. It's like,
you.
go and follow Michael or Pintography on Instagram, but definitely watch for his YouTube channel coming out. You got a YouTube channel already?
We got to do it. I don't.
Just fucking do it, man. It'd be a way for you to. We'll talk off the air, but where else, Mike? Drop your websites real quick. Definitely go pick up some of his art, man. We have a piece hanging here in the studio.
Yeah.
We always take photos in front of it. It's the most commented piece of art in the studio. Everybody loves the bison. It's so iconic. Just that Western culture. Like, I think that this is what I really love about you is not only are you capturing rodeo, you capture Western culture in its finest, man. Whether it's that cowboy with the cross, like, dude, that cross is badass. Was Jesus
These
actually
images,
crucified
a
on that
lot
thing?
of what you see, I mean, that's Pastor Dave Schumpert from X2D Ranches riding up to a cross that was put in place as a memorial to Mike Survey Jr., who died, and in fact, almost 2 weeks ago to the date, in an airplane crash, and he's part of the Survey family, and that was put up in a memoriam to him. And I caught Dave up there riding his horse one day and just giving praise and thanks, or whatever you want to call it. And then these horses, these are all images that I've been privileged to be able to go out and shoot
Scroll
out at
down a
Survey
little bit,
Ranch.
Derek.
Yeah.
These are so cool, man. This is the
Those
Western
are-
culture, man. That is badass.
Well, and then that very arena, a lot of those are right out there too. And it's just, I've been so privileged and honored. And I told Binion Survey's wife, Hannah, who I originally reached out to back in 2018, hey, I've been down in Arizona for the last 3 years and I'm tired of shooting bulls. And don't get me wrong, I love doing it. I love doing PBRs when I got the chance to do them. I love bull riding. I love everything about
There's
it.
something about the horse photos.
They just get they get a verticalness to them. And when I got the chance to go out and shoot out here, this is where a lot of my work comes from and still does. I was just there 2 weeks ago. And I told Hannah, though, I said, man, I hope I haven't screwed things up for you guys. And she goes, what do you mean? I go, well, because of being able to be out here and get these shots, I think I've made your place a little more popular than I originally intended. And thank you for that opportunity. But that's where a lot of that work comes from. So I've been blessed by them, and I know they're grateful. But at the same time, I didn't want to publicize it that much because it's almost like sacred ground out there.
Yeah.
And I never want to take that for granted. So, yeah. I mean, I can get these other rodeos, these PRC events that I go to throughout the year. You can get those, but there's something about that place that I hold sacred.
Yeah, man. A lot of guys are figuring it out there, right?
Well, a lot of people want, a lot of photographers want to come out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
that
the
makes
thing.
sense.
And again,
It's such a cool spot too, man.
it's neat. It's
Yeah.
neat. Yeah, imagine it's beautiful. So this has been great. Thank you.
Yeah, man. You're welcome here anytime. We just need to do this more often. Like, we live in the same damn town. Like, we hardly ever see each other, but this is a great excuse to do it. So,
Yeah.
thank you for saying yes.
Thank you.
We'll have you back next week.
Thank you for
and,
yeah, sorry, folks. It's oh my gosh,
it
that
never
is
feels
great.
long enough with you. I think we've done some 4-hour ones back in the
Oh,
day.
God,
when we
I
used
hope
to
not.
do that, but we don't do that anymore.
I
so,
hope not.
Yeah.
So
All right, Mike. I love you, brother.
Thanks again,
Thank
man.
you again.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Derek. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. If you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.